on to be champions. Hall of Welcome to the MBL Rookie Draft. Today we'll see teams select franchise players who will forever change the culture of the team while having immediate success. While some teams will weigh risk versus reward, banking on a player's potential to develop. Some players will go on to be champions, Hall of Famers. Even though they were drafted in later rounds, their success won't be denied. You are witnessing the leader in full immersion gaming, the Madden Bomber League. So join our journey today. Go to 365.maddenbomberleague.com and take your chance to become a legend and forever be remembered like Lucky Jordan, Asa Sherrard, because legends never die. And you're watching the MBL Network.
Oh, Lord, it's finally here, folks. Somebody's Super Bowl draft is going to be tonight. This is where teams can turn into super teams and where Paysingers can be drafted, basically. It's the MBL Season 29 Rookie Draft here live on the MBL Network. New show, new look. We got a lot of new things for you. And on that note, we have a whole cast of people here to talk about the MBL Rookie Draft. I am OSU, your network director. We will be taking you pick by pick through all 32 picks. Scrolling along the bottom of your screen, you'll see our ticker to catch up on any of the picks that go through. We have a lot to get to. So let me throw it first to the Commissioner Bomber. Bomber, this is a big night here in the MBL, here on the MBL Network. This is really the start of Season 29. We had a great Season 28, but all that's out the window because tonight we could see some superstars drafted and some teams change their destinies.
Absolutely. This is where teams are made and developed. If you know the MBL rules, you know the rookie draft is very important. We got some big trades tonight that we haven't even released to our own members of the league. So a lot of futures are going to be changed right now. A lot of people are risking their future later to get the player they want right now. And this draft is loaded, and I'm pumped. I'm excited, and guess what, OSU? The season's in full thrive.
Yeah, it's full thrive here on the MBL Network. Let me throw it over to our co-commissioner, Lip, also joining us here on the MBL Rookie Draft broadcast. Lip, talk a little bit about what this draft means, not only for those teams who are at the top of the draft. We know that they are going to have an opportunity to draft some of the best players here, but how about for some of those teams that are near the end of the draft, like your Pittsburgh Steelers, like Bombers, Detroit Lions, who may have picks at the end of the draft, may have picks in the second round. What sort of players can you expect to find there?
Well, we all know that a huge thing in getting through the season, getting through the playoffs, and being able to win a championship is the health of your team. And the teams at the top might be drafting those stars that are going to come in and make a huge impact every play right away. But later in the draft, you can find a lot of depth, and that is really important because as the season goes on, the injuries pile up. Finding those guys who can contribute is a huge part of being able to be successful long-term, and that really comes from drafting very well through all 7 rounds. We've seen a couple owners do it consistently. They're really good at drafting, and they might not be the healthiest teams, but they have players in position that can come in and fill those gaps whenever they do have an injury, and that's a big thing for a lot of teams.
Well, we got our two commissioners right here on the MBL Network, here to be taking you through the first 32 picks of the MBL Rookie Draft. But we got somebody else over there, one of our draft experts. It's our own Sonny Weaver, which is terrifying. Nobody, I don't think anybody wanted to see 2 mugs like this here on the MBL Network. Sonny, you're going to be taking us through some of the draft picks. So tell me a little bit what you expect to see from the players that are going to be drafted. What you're looking for in this draft class.
Well, I think what we're looking to see real quick is what's going to happen at the top of this draft. You've got 7 really good quarterbacks sitting at the top of this draft. You've got the outstanding wide receiver from Georgia, Fisher Fort, who a lot of people think could possibly go number 1. And then there's a couple left tackles. I'll be interested to see what happens there. I think there's 3 valuable franchise left tackles to protect those quarterbacks. We'll have to see what happens there.
Do you see guys, Sonny, in this draft that are potentially game changers? Do you see any talent in this draft that you think we may be talking about in that Players Hall of Fame as guys that are going to be remembered for years to come?
Yeah, like I said, I look right to Fisher for it. I think this guy's got the potential to be the next Calvin Johnson. He's a guy that's going to be able to go downfield, go up, get the ball. And with that Bengals passing offense, that's something they're desperately going to need.
Well, as we said, we have our full 32 absolutely unbelievable pick-by-pick analysis here throughout the first round. And we're going to get this started so we can start the clock on pick number 1. Bomber, you excited to get this one going?
Absolutely, man. I just want to see where the Cincinnati Bengals go. This is a team and ownership that's had this first-round pick before, so they're kind of a veteran in this situation. They usually make the right choice. I want to know if they're going to go for it, like what Sonny just said. That wide receiver looks very dangerous. I believe he's 6'6". All the intangibles to do the big things, and guess what? They just lost A.J. Green, so I'm really excited to see what their franchise and the direction they decide to go in post A.J. Green in Cincinnati.
Yeah, Lip, this Bengals team, tough season last year in your AFC North division. Big loss in the offseason, no more A.J. Green, no more Giovanni Bernard, and they really weren't a big player in free agency. Were you surprised to see that from the Cincinnati Bengals?
No, I wasn't surprised. Usually that's a quiet team as far as free agency. Every now and then you'll see a guy or two come along, but they really like to go with the veteran guys. This year they didn't so much, and that was surprising to me because they usually like to do that. But I like the move because I like that they're trying to get younger, they're trying to get more athletic, and that's a good move for this Bengals team no matter which way they go.
All right, well, let's get this draft underway, folks. We have our first overall pick. Announcing it will be our very own Hop from the commissioner's office. Let's send it down to the commissioner's office and find out who they went with that number 1 overall pick.
With the first pick in the Season 29 MBL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select cornerback Blake.
And the pick is in. Bomber, what do you think of that pick? They go cornerback number 1 overall.
That was kind of a weird selection. I think we actually have video on Blake. Definitely a cornerback that has the ability to do some lockdown things. But when you lose a guy like A.J. Green, I think I'm on board with this, Lip. I think they should have gone for it. This might have been a missed opportunity. We'll find out his attributes about DJ Blake here in a little bit. We'll be revisiting that. But, man, I'm kind of concerned on why you go on the defensive side of the ball. But maybe it's a division kind of thing, Lip. Maybe they're saying, hey, AFC North is getting a little pass happy. You got Jameis Winston. You got Ben Roethlisberger. It's time to start defending against these pass offenses.
That is 100% the reason they went with Blake. You've got Big Ben. You've got Jameis Winston. And then a huge signing for the Baltimore Ravens. They bring in Andrew Luck. That is a lot of quarterback talent in just that division. So I totally see why they went with Blake. I think he's a great star in this league to be. And I think that's a brilliant move by the Bengals.
DJ Blake out of Michigan State, an absolutely great pick. We're going to throw it over to our very own Sonny Weaver. Sonny, what do you see out of DJ Blake that the Cincinnati Bengals like in this player?
Well, when you're looking at DJ Blake, he's a little more athletic than his fellow Michigan State Spartan Harlos Hepburn. So I think that's why you saw Blake go above Hepburn here. But when you look at Blake across the board, he's solid. Zone coverage, man coverage, doesn't matter. He can even get down, play some press man. I think he's going to have to get maybe a little bit bigger. Only 188 pounds. Would like to see him maybe up in that maybe 195 range to play in that division. But overall, what you're getting is a very solid corner for the future there.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, Sonny, let me ask you about this. What do we get out of the Cincinnati Bengals team taking the number 1 overall pick with DJ Blake? I mean, is this a guy who is worthy of going number overall? It says here 30th overall MBL draft projection. Was this a pick that is a reach for them, or are we looking at a guy that's really going to change this defense and make this team a whole lot better?
Well, really what you're having here is you've got a very deep draft class. Some people had Blake as the 2nd or 3rd cornerback on their board. I know a lot of people liked Hepburn, 6'2", body, 194, a little bigger of the 2 cornerbacks. But I think this is more about this draft. I think Blake could have gone anywhere, maybe in that 10 to 20 range, maybe a little bit of reach at 1. But I really like this pick for Cincinnati.
Yeah, DJ Blake out of Michigan State, the number 1 overall pick. Bomber, Lip, we've seen first round. We sort of thought Bengals might have a chance at maybe a quarterback, maybe a wide receiver. Offensively, they struggled last year, but they struggled defensively too. Lip, you're in that division. I mean, does DJ Blake provide any sort of fear going up against this Bengals defense? Now, is he somebody you're going to be looking out for?
Yeah, I definitely think that he is. We've seen guys in the past come out and the cornerbacks, they play. They take a little while to develop. They're young. They haven't quite seen the talent that the NFL is going to bring, or that the MBL is going to bring. So I think that they're going to take some time to develop, and we've even seen some bust because that is such a hard position to play. Although it's a tough position to play, you're going to be guarding very, very talented receivers in this league. I think that he has the ability and the intelligence to sit back, get smarter, really pay attention to the tape, and get better. And like I said before, I really do like the move considering the quarterbacks that you have to play in this division.
Well, we're having some technical difficulties with the actual draft. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take down the stream for just a quick second while we fix what's going on. We'll be right back online. We just want to make sure everything is running smoothly over the draft. So stick with us here. We'll be right back on here on the MBL Network. And just like that, we're back live. Didn't take long. We figured it out. Sorry about that, folks. But yeah, we got the MBL rookie draft here for season 29. A whole bevy of people here on the call. I'm OSU. I'm hanging out with Lip. I'm hanging out with Bomber. And we got Sonny Weaver, our draft experts, taking you throughout the MBL season 29 rookie draft. Let's go to the number 2 overall pick, Bomber. We got the Philadelphia Eagles there. A rough season for the Eagles and a rough offseason. They ended up parting ways with Carson Wentz. This was a guy who many thought was going to be the future of the Philadelphia Eagles, the quarterback for years to come. They end up going out and bring in Drew Brees. Let's start there. What do you think of the addition of Drew Brees? 1-year contract for a guy who is getting up there in age. Is this a guy who's going to be starting in Philadelphia? What was the thought behind bringing in Drew Brees?
Well, you want to bring in a veteran quarterback, and maybe the thought process is, yeah, he's lost a little bit physically, but he's got Calvin Patrick and Tatarius Holloway. There's an opportunity for Drew Brees to be successful in this system. Remember, they brought in Carson Palmer. He only threw the ball 95 times last season, only 4 touchdowns. They thought Haynes Dunn, the second-round pick from MBL Season 28, was going to be the guy. He ended up not being the guy. I kind of expect this team to go quarterback and maybe wait maybe a year and let Drew Brees kind of fill in, or maybe half a season. I don't know how much Drew has left. We haven't seen him have a successful season this Madden cycle, but Calvin Patrick and Tatarius Holloway are probably 2 of the most talented wide receivers on one team, arguably the most dynamic duo in the MBL. So it's going to be interesting to see where the Philadelphia Eagles decide to go.
Lip, your thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles bringing in Drew Brees? I mean, does he add anything to this team other than a little veteran leadership? Is he going to bring in more wins, or is this just a nice piece that may be able to hold down the fort for a year while a young quarterback gets drafted?
I'm not sure how much I would expect Drew Brees to play, which is kind of the thing is, for him to sign there, I feel like they had to tell him that he would play quite a bit. You looked at Dunn. He didn't really have a great season last year, but there wasn't a lot of hype around him, around the league. So I'm not really sure. I would expect Brees to play, but outside of his play, he's going to be a significant help to any young quarterback, whether it be this draft, whether it be Dunn, whether it be somebody they pull out of free agency once the season gets started. Whoever is around Drew Brees is going to benefit from it. And that also goes over to Calvin Patrick and Holloway. Those guys are going to benefit from it too, because if Drew Brees is throwing them the ball, that's a significant impact. And if Drew Brees is teaching young quarterbacks, they're also going to benefit because they're going to be working with a quarterback that is improving from a legend.
Let's bring in Sonny Weaver now before as that pick is getting run up to the desk. We'll hear what that is in just a second. Sonny, Philadelphia here at number 2. The expectation is to go quarterback. Is that where you see the Eagles going here with the number 2 overall pick?
Well, like it's been talked about already, obviously, Drew Brees comes in, Carson Wentz out. Drew Brees more of a stopgap kind of quarterback here. I think quarterback's definitely on the table in a very deep quarterback class. We'll have to see what happens there. Other options there, obviously Michael Kendrick's gone. You mentioned that. Graham is now gone, so defensive line is in play here. But I think whatever Philadelphia is going to do here, they got to get a player right now that can make an impact. And that's something they haven't had for a while in Philadelphia. They need impact players that come in year 1 and can help this team win.
All right, well, we can see the commissioner's office walking to the podium. Let's throw it down to Hop for the number 2 overall pick in the season 29 rookie draft.
With the 2nd overall pick in the season 29 NBL draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Sean left in from the Ohio State.
The pick is in, and it is Crawford out of Ohio State, the left end. Well, let's first get it from Bomber and Lip. We both thought that we all thought it was going to be quarterback. We thought this was the play with Drew Brees. It's the left end. Are you surprised, Bomber, that they go defensive side of the ball?
Well, I mean, kind of, but not at the same time. I'm kind of thinking, they're switching to that 3-4. Here's an opportunity to bring in a big defensive end. This guy's got all the talent, all the potential. Their defense was ranked 32nd. They're giving up 33 points per game, Lip. Their rushing attack is 26th. Their passing is 28th. They're giving up 310 total yards. I mean, this team is struggling on defense. We can't blame them for finally saying, you know what, let's help this defensive side of the ball, and let's see if we can make a change in the culture here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and with the departure of Brandon Graham and Michael Kendricks, the defense is going to get a lot worse. So they needed somebody to come in and to start that build around. The big thing is, like I said, I wasn't sure why Drew Brees would sign there if he wasn't going to play. So the fact that they're not going quarterback here tells me that they do believe that Drew Brees will be the guy. That's why he's there. So I think if that is your plan, then they executed it well.
Let's throw it over to our draft expert, Sonny Weaver. Sonny, our first surprise, I think, of the season 29 rookie draft. It's the left end. This guy, he seems like a real good player, though. I know it's not maybe the biggest need you thought the Eagles had, but you got to like them addressing the defensive side of the ball.
I do. I thought Cedric Slade from Florida State was the better play here. Crawford, obviously, 4-3 end versus Slade being more of a 3-4 end. But, one thing Crawford can do is he's got a great bull rush. When he gets engaged with the tackle, he can run him back into the quarterback. The guy's relentless in his pursuit. I think Crawford, year one, you're probably looking at somewhere between 8 and 10 sacks. We'll see how much that helps that Eagles defensive line. But one thing I will say is Sean Crawford's going to start this year for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's going to make some plays.
All right, well, that's our number 2 overall pick. Let's go to number 3 in a very interesting spot. Lip, this is the Houston Texans, who have had a tumultuous week in the offseason, new ownership coming in. It sort of threw off their entire free agency plan. They lost Nick Martin, but really didn't bring in anybody. Most people agree that sort of wasn't the plan. It was this ownership turmoil that derailed everything. The new ownership is in. They have a draft plan. But tell me what this Houston Texans team looking like? Is this a team under new ownership that is going to be benefiting from it? Or is this a team that is looking to have a first year that is going to be a whole lot of struggle because of the new ownership?
I think that it's going to be a struggle, and I don't like to say that, but I think that you've got some players that are just they're kind of heading out of their prime if they're not already out, especially on the defense. So the big question is, if they go to quarterback here, that would tell me Deshaun Watson's done, which is a confusing thing to me. But then if you go on defense, I'm not sure that there's not a whole lot of studs, absolute top picks, number 3 pick for defense to make this team improve that much to make them a contender this year. So I think that if we see them go on defensive side of the ball, I think that they've got a plan for a 2 or 3 year build here. But on the other hand, I think if they go quarterback, they might think that this is the guy, this is the year that they have it all ready to go. They just need the quarterback. So it's very interesting. Depending on where they go, you can see a lot about what they believe in their franchise.
Yeah, Bomber, this whole ownership thing threw off their free agency plans. They really weren't a player whatsoever. There were some rumblings that they weren't going to be a player anyways. They really didn't lose anybody. But this does seem like a team that needs an influx of talent. The number 3 overall pick could certainly do that.
Absolutely. You got this number 3 overall pick, and you got an opportunity here to make a big splash, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do. And I'm happy if I'm the Houston Texans right now.
All right, well, we are about ready for the pick.
Got nothing to say.
The pick is in.
I don't know much. Hey, we got a new Texans owner. We got a lot of new things. I don't know where his mind's at. I had something written here for the old guy, and all I came up with, it's the game. It's the Madden game.
The Madden game is what the game is. That's some solid analysis right there.
Hey, that's some deep stuff.
It is the game we play.
That's deeper, a lot deeper than you think.
The game we play is this game, and this game is the game we play. The pick is in to the commissioner's office. Let's send it down to Hop to find out who the number 3 overall pick is.
With the 3rd overall pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Texans select Amir Geralt from the University of Texas, quarterback.
And the first quarterback is off the board, folks. And it goes to the Houston Texans. Lip, you mentioned it. Does this means Deshaun Watson's done? They bring in a new young quarterback. You got to think that Deshaun Watson's time in Houston is running up now.
Yeah, that would be the indication to me. That's what I would say, because you just can't have a quarterback like that and then bring another one. It's sad to say, but Watson's time is over. But this young quarterback's going to have a couple years left with DeAndre Hopkins to work with. It's going to be exciting to see Hopkins get to work with this young quarterback. You still got Will Fuller and Braxton Miller. Those two guys are going to be nice fillers for this young quarterback. The offensive line has some good pieces. They actually have a pretty solid line, except for the right side. I've got some questions. The right tackle is pretty young. Could serve some protection issues, but if they can just protect this young man and make sure that he's not doing stuff that's outside of his abilities, don't try to force him into a veteran role too soon. Let him develop. I think that they could, this is a good move. Like I said, I think that this shows that they're ready to win right now.
Bring in our draft expert, Sonny Weaver. Sonny, first quarterback off the board. Thought we might see him in the first 2 picks, but number 3 overall, they go with Gerald. What do you like about this guy out of USC versus maybe some of the other quarterbacks you see in the draft?
Well, what I like is his intangibles. He was part of a 3-headed monster they had at USC. They had some quarterback turnover. You'll see him later in the draft. Damon Henning, Al Vanover more the mobile kind of wildcat quarterback. And then you had Damon Henning. Him and Geralt were splitting time throughout the year. So what you have to appreciate is that Geralt, he can handle adversity when things don't go his way. From the field standpoint, he's got an MBL caliber arm. He can make all the throws you need to make. Accuracy is pretty good. He can get out of the pocket. He can make some throws. One thing I question is his deep ball accuracy. That's something we'll have to watch as we go forward. I'm not sure he's going to be very accurate in that kind of 30 yards and beyond range. Anything 30 yards in, I think the kid's money.
Yeah, a real nice pick for the Houston Texans. Bomber, look, we were going to talk about the number 4 overall pick, which was supposed to be, it looks like the Arizona Cardinals, but I think we have our first trade of this season 29 draft.
Oh, baby. What's going on? What do we got?
That's right, folks. Our first MBL trade alert, and the trade is in. The Arizona Cardinals send the first-round pick, the 4th overall pick, to the 49ers in exchange for their first-round pick, this year's 3rd-round pick, and a 4th-round pick next year. Bomber, before we talk about what the 49ers are getting here at the 4th overall pick, what do you think of the haul that the Cardinals got for really the 49ers moving up 2 spots?
Yeah, it's kind of a lot, but when you got your eyes set on the guy that you want, you got to pull the trigger. Even if you feel like, hey, maybe I'm overpaying here, there's an opportunity to improve your team, and sometimes that's just what you have to take. I know you're not always happy with what you have to give up, and the team, you look at the Cardinals right now, they're looking good.
Yeah, the Cardinals are now with a lot of picks here. Let's look at those San Francisco 49ers who are now coming in at the 4th overall pick. This was a team with a lot of turnover in the offseason. This 49ers team, predicted by our very own Sonny Weaver to win the division, didn't quite get there, but everybody certainly realized that this is a division that could be one for the taking. They lose Eric Reed and Alex Boone, but they bring in Rodney Hudson to shore up that offensive line. They bring in Andrew Adams. A real eventful offseason. My question for you, Lip, is the San Francisco 49ers, now with the number 4 overall pick, they traded away a lot to get it. Does this make them a real contender in the NFC West?
The stars have aligned for this team, and they are making all of the right moves to put themselves in that talk for definitely the division, by far, for sure. But also a nice run into the playoffs. Look, we saw Babers and Swan come into this league. We know that they have superstar talent. We're waiting for that next guy, that quarterback, to come into play. If they would take a quarterback here, which I think that they could, because you don't make that move and you don't have all of these star players on your offense if they would make that move, all of the stars have aligned, because this division was a mess. The Seahawks won it at 7-9, the Rams were 6-10, and the 49ers were 5-11. In my opinion, they did not have a quarterback. The Seahawks have Russell Wilson. The 49ers didn't have a quarterback. So I think now all of that patience has paid off for the 49ers, and I think that the future is extremely bright for them.
All right, let's throw it over to Sonny Weaver, the San Francisco 49ers' biggest fan here in the MBL network. You love this team. They move up to get that 4th overall pick. So where do they go with it? And will they make your dreams of having the 49ers win the NFC West, will that come true next year with the 4th overall pick?
Well, obviously, if you're going to make a big move, then you got to make a big play. They're right on the cusp of big things, and I think they're gonna be right there. They've got holes. I mean, that's just all there is to it. They've got a lot of holes, and you got to expect that if you're going to make a play up to the 4th overall pick, you got something big in mind.
So what you're saying is this 49ers team has holes in different area codes.
They've got holes like Swiss cheese.
Swiss cheese hole.
He didn't get it.
He didn't.
He didn't
I
get
got it. I
Thank
got
you.
it, Sonny. Come on,
All right,
man.
explain it, Liv. What is it? What is it?
It's a ludicrous song.
Whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Liv
So
got
proud
it.
of you, Liv.
That's good.
Shame on you, Sonny.
I am
Wow.
proud. Well,
I guess it didn't come out in the 80s. That's why I didn't get
all
it.
right, well,
80s music only.
the pick is in. Let's throw it down to Hop with now the San Francisco 49ers picking at number 4.
With the 4th overall pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the San Francisco 49ers select quarterback Arsenio Sapp, 22-year-old from Texas.
Wow, what a pick there. Another quarterback off the board. Let's throw it right to Sonny Weaver. Arsenio Sapp, the second quarterback off the board out of Texas. This guy definitely a much more mobile quarterback. What do you like about this guy, and how does he fit in with the San Francisco 49ers?
Well, like you said, he's a mobile quarterback. I kind of had a couple of the quarterbacks on the board higher than him. I'm a little surprised to see him go here before Lester and Gerberry, but you know what? That's okay. I think what you're getting out of Sapp is you get a guy that's going to be able to elude people. We talked about the holes on this team. I think with those kind of holes, you got somebody that can make some plays with his feet. Look for Sapp to run the ball. I think he's going to be a kind of guy that can get outside the pocket and make kind of that read there, and if it's not there, he's going to take off. So keep him in the pocket there, NFC West.
Yeah, certainly a mobile quarterback going to the San Francisco 49ers. Should be fun to see where he sort of fits into their offensive plans. Let's get to the number 5 overall pick. So we have the Miami Dolphins, and Bomber, an interesting team here. They really didn't lose a whole lot. They bring Paul Perkins in from the New York Giants, wanted another running back in Miami. This team, I think most would agree, Bomber, we've said it over and over, they're better than their record shows. With the pick here at number 5, they can get a whole lot better, but talk a little bit about the Miami Dolphins and sort of that scrappiness that they have sort of encapsulated over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, this is a team that definitely outplays their potential on the field, and I like how key losses says none, because actually they did get rid of Ryan Tannehill, but I wouldn't consider that a key loss.
I guess he's not that
Ryan
key.
Tannehill gone. Here's a little snippet I want to talk about the Miami Dolphins. They went 4-12 last year, obviously a struggling franchise. They get rid of Ryan Tannehill, and what was the number one target they had this offseason? They tried to bring in some offensive linemen. They failed. They didn't bring any in, but that tells me that this team's gearing up to take a quarterback. I think they're going to go quarterback with this pick because you got rid of Tannehill. You're looking to improve that offensive line. You want to protect the young rookie, and there's a bunch of quarterbacks out there. I expect this Miami Dolphins franchise to turn around. Give them 2 to 3 seasons. Let them build that offensive line, and if they do go quarterback, they got a nice addition right now at halfback with Paul Perkins from the New York Giants. I think they're kind of putting together a nice offense to complement that scrappy defense.
Lip, you agree? You think quarterback here with the number 5 overall pick?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the right decision. Look, they were 29th in passing last year. I think that bringing in a new guy, get that offense jumping. The offensive line isn't terrible. I think that they've got some middle-of-the-road guys that once they get time to gel together, they will be able to provide protection. And once you get a new, fresh face, a fresh brain, a fresh mind in there at quarterback, I think that whole unit will gel together and be pretty surprising compared to what some people might think. But I think that is the move, and I think that's the right move, especially with how this team looks set up on offense.
All right, well, hey, let's not talk about it any further. Let's see where the Miami Dolphins go here as the pick is in. Hop from the commissioner office, walking up to the podium. Let's see who the Miami Dolphins go with at number 5 overall.
With the 5th overall pick in the season 29 NBL draft, the Miami Dolphins select quarterback Austin Lester.
Austin Lester. Wow, finally off the board. Bomber, I know you're a big fan of this kid.
Absolutely. Austin Lester, I believe it's University of Wisconsin. We should have a video on that guy. This guy can make all the throws. You're going to see a nice little low point pass here. And does he have some weapons? A lot of people say Miami, you don't have many weapons over there. But I think differently. They had their first 1,000-yard receiver in the MBL since this Madden cycle. Jarvis Landry, 58 catches, 1,070 yards, 5 touchdowns. Devontae Parker, 49 catches, 824 yards. Low-key, this team has a very nice wide receiver core. Also, Kenny Stills, at wide receiver, they can get it done. I think they go receiver probably in the second or third round, and I think the Miami Dolphins are gearing up to start competing in the AFC East.
All right, let's throw it over to our draft expert, Sonny Weaver. Sonny, Austin Lester, I know was a guy you had high on your board. Maybe a more talented quarterback than some of the others that have already gone. Do you think that they got a steal with Austin Lester here at number 5?
Yeah, definitely. I think what you get there at Leicester is you get a pro-ready quarterback right now. 6'5", 230, big kid, strong arm, very accurate. I think his accuracy is the best of anybody in this class. Not mobile in the least. He looks like a statue in the pocket. You're going to have to protect him. I think if you're going to put this kid out there as a rookie, you better make sure you protect him because he's going to take a lot of hits. I'm not so sold there on that line in Miami, but like was said already, they've got the weapons to throw to.
Well, let's get to the number 6 overall pick. It was going to be the Arizona Cardinals. Bob, we got wheeling and dealing on the trade floor because the Cardinals have acquired their second trade of the day. It's another MBL trade alert. Yes, the trade is in. The Arizona Cardinals sending the 6th overall pick to the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC North. Bomber, you're one of your division rivals. The Vikings send their first-round pick this year, their second-round pick this year, and then a first next year to move up from 19 to 6 overall. Your thoughts on the trade?
Trying to get this draft is deep. This draft is deep, but it's also very top-heavy, and there's still some great players available. I expect this Minnesota Vikings team to make a splash in this draft, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. They make another big trade, but I'd like to say the Arizona Cardinals are making some very nice moves back as they're acquiring picks for the future and for this draft as well. I think it's a win-win for both teams. I'm interested to see what the Vikings decide to do with this pick.
Let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings for just a second. This Vikings team, no more Harrison Smith, no more Latavius Murray. Those are some big names gone from the Minnesota Vikings, but they bring in Keith Marshall. They bring in Aqib Talib, 2 veterans, guys that are going to help out this team, maybe a little more moxie in the NFC North. This is a team that has been competing with the Detroit Lions, the champions of the NFC North from season 27. Now they have the 6th overall pick. What do you think of their offseason moves? Does it make them even more of a contender now than they were before?
Yeah, I think that the loss of Harrison Smith is big, but we've seen those older safeties not really play out the way that we thought. I think Aqib Talib's a pretty interesting signing. I was very interested to see what he has left. I'm very excited about that, but looking at their team last year, that they were 28th in passing. That's not great whenever you have the number 1 rushing attack. So I think that if you wanted to, you could make the argument for a wide receiver, but I want to make the argument for a left tackle or some type of offensive lineman because I think that they need some more protection for whoever's playing quarterback, whether it stays Teddy Bridgewater or it's a new guy. I think that would boost the offense up and that would help them get over the humps in the NFC playoff race.
Let's bring in Sonny Weaver. Sonny, they trade up. They give up a first round and a second round pick this year and their first next year to move up 13 spots to number 6 overall. What do you see as sort of the avenue the Vikings are going for? Why give up that much to move up in the draft? What are they targeting here?
Well, the only thing you trade up that far is a franchise quarterback. I think that's the play here. Still a couple really good ones on the board here. You got Gerberry. You've got a few others down here, Greenway. I like either of them, but it's got to be quarterback. You do not give up that much unless it's quarterback.
Minnesota Vikings trading all the way up to number 6. Let's throw it down to the commissioner offers. Hop at the podium. Let's see where the Minnesota Vikings go with the 6th overall pick.
With the 6th pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Minnesota Vikings select quarterback Jack Gerberry from Florida State University.
Gerberry is the pick out of Florida State. Let's throw it right back to Sonny Weaver. A run of quarterbacks here in the first 6 picks. This guy projected a top 5 player out of Florida State, a guy with a gun and accurate passer. What does he bring to this Vikings team that already has Dalvin Cook and a pretty potent rushing attack?
Yeah, so Gerberry, I like him. He can move. But he's kind of small. I mean, some people compare him to Russell Wilson, only 6 foot tall, 216 pounds. He's got some good footwork. He can evade in the pocket. He can get out on the edge, but you got to be worried about his slight frame. Is he going to take a lot of hits? You know, what's that going to do? Is he going to hold up? You know, is he Russell Wilson or is he Johnny Manziel? Personally, I think he's Russell Wilson. I think you're getting a great player here, but there's people out there that think he's the next Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about these people. Do you agree that this is the next Johnny Manziel?
No, like I said, I think he's more Russell Wilson, and if you get Russell Wilson here, even as a a top 10 pick, you're feeling pretty good about it.
Well, we'll see where the Minnesota Vikings go forward with their new quarterback, Gurberry. Let's get to the number 7 overall pick, but before we do, I got somebody we want to bring in here. We got multiple people. We got a lot of people want to talk about this MBL rookie draft. I believe we have our MBL Bleacher Report owned Bananas in the chat right now. Bananas, welcome to the MBL rookie draft. First of all, an exciting night here in the MBL. What have you seen from the first 6 picks that either surprised you or maybe just met your expectations?
Open the floodgates for the quarterbacks. This is insane how many quarterbacks went back. It's incredible. The quarterbacks are incredible. I think that the Vikings moving up for Gurberry is going to be play.
Yeah, that's a big move there. Bomber, are you surprised to see this many trades here in the top 6? Usually these are commodities people want to hang on to and get the talent. Are you surprised to see so many people moving back in the draft?
Well, in most cases, you don't see this kind of movement early on because it's such a high risk to go and move up. But this was a quarterback-heavy draft, and a lot of these teams fell in love, and they go, well, I like that guy. I like that guy. I like this guy over here. I like Gurberry. You know, I like this guy. Well, I mean, I like 6 of these guys, so moving up became less of a risk because if you're in the top 7 and there's 6 quarterbacks you like, you know this guy's not going quarterback. You know the Eagles weren't going quarterback. And then here we are at pick 6. You're going to get a quarterback in there, and you knew you were going to get one that you liked. So that's why you're seeing all this movement. Top-heavy quarterbacks. I like what these teams are doing. Very impressed with the Vikings pick. But once again, who I'm voting for this first round early on. Early round winner so far, Arizona Cardinals. Some great moves, moving back twice and really accumulating some picks.
Well, let's go to the Chicago Bears at the number 7 overall pick. They've got a couple picks in this draft after some trades last season. Let me throw it over to you. Terrell Pryor out in Chicago, but they bring in Adrian Peterson, a guy they know very well from his time in Minnesota. Let's look at Adrian Peterson first before we look at where they're going. What does Adrian Peterson bring to Chicago, a place that already has Jordan Howard? Is this really a guy who's going to fit in as a backup running back?
I'm not sure how he will fit in because I don't think that backup role is a spot for him. He's 34 years old, so maybe he's come around to the idea that if he wants to play and get paid, this is what it'll have to be. Jordan Howard's a very good back. There's no way that they're even considering going off. It's just based off the name if you're even considering it. But you look at Cameron Meredith at 27 years old. You look at Kevin White at 28 years old. This team's really looking for a wide receiver to come in and fill that hole. You've got your quarterback in Mitch Trubisky. You've got your halfback. You need a wide receiver. You need one of those studs to let him and to let that stud and Mitch Trubisky work together, build that chemistry, and really ignite this offense. So I'm very excited to see where the Bears go here.
Yeah, Bomber, the Bears in your division, so you're very familiar with what this Bear team has. What do you see from this team going forward? I know this is a team that young quarterback, Jordan Howard, one of the great young stars here in the MBL. What do you see from the Bears that you like moving forward that maybe as a team that could be looking to move up into the top 2 of the division?
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but I do think they have a...
All right, never mind. Carry on.
I do think the Chicago Bears have an identity. I always stress identity on the Commissioner's Corner podcast. When you were on there with me, we stressed identity. I think they actually have an identity. While their identity wasn't very strong last year, they finished 5-11. Mitchell Trubisky's a solid quarterback, but Jordan Howard is the ground and pound that makes this offense go. I expect them to go on the offensive side of the ball, though. I think this is a team that really believes if their offense can turn the corner, they can turn the corner. But as I expect them to go offense, I think they should go defense. This is a team that finished 29th in defense, giving up 27 points per game, gave up 88 yards rushing. That means I need to see more formidable players on the defensive line and at linebacker. I don't think they go that way because I think they're chasing. I think they're chasing the offensive performance of the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. I think they're somewhere in between that, and they're saying we need to be able to put points on the board. So expect them to go some type of skill position at this pick.
Hey, let's throw it over to Sonny Weaver. Sonny, Chicago Bears, they've got a couple picks in this draft, so they do have some flexibility. This is the first one that they have, though. What do you see from the Bears here at number 7?
Well, I think you can go a couple different directions. As Bomber alluded to, offensive weapons are a great option here. They've got some different options here, one of them being they could go with Fisher Fort, the wide receiver. I had him as the top player in this draft for me personally. They could go with the left tackle, Anthony Eaton from LSU. They could protect the blind side, Mitchell Trubisky, and try to really solidify that line. I kind of lean with Bomber here a little bit. I think they need those weapons. They're in a division with a lot of really good skill players, and they're gonna have to keep pace on scoring.
All right, well, hey, let's not have any more suspense. The pick is in. Let's throw it down to the commissioner's office representative Hop for the number 7 overall pick in the Chicago Bears.
With the number 7 pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Chicago Bears select receiver Fisher Fort from the University of Georgia.
Fisher Fort is the pick. Sonny Weaver, you had him number 1 on your board. Before we talk about how good Fisher Fort is, let me ask you, do you have a guy that you compare Fisher Fort to, maybe a current NBL player, current NFL player, that you like in Fisher Fort?
Well, I like to compare him to Calvin Johnson.
So neither a current NBL player nor a current NFL player. Cool.
Yeah, I got to tell you, though, 6'6", 235. The guy can run like a gazelle. The catches he can make, the acrobatic catches, something amazing. I mean, I've seen this kid make these one-handed catches that are like they're right out of a video game. So I think Fisher Fort is really going to help out Mitch Trubisky, who struggles a little bit with his accuracy. Fort, his catch radius is basically unlimited.
Yeah, Bomber, we have a video on Fisher Fort here. You've looked at a lot of tape on this guy. He is quick and he is athletic. What do you like about him, or not like, considering the Chicago Bears are inside your division?
I actually think it's a good pick. I told him don't go skill position, but if you were going to go, pair him with Cameron Meredith. You're going to get another guy. I think what's the size and height on him, Sonny? 6'6". Fisher Fort. He's got the size and the ability. University of Georgia, as you see right there at the combine, he just moves so fluidly. A couple slip ups.
Hey, that was clever. So you were doing the slip ups for the slip ups.
See, I slip up as I said slip up. See, so that's how it works out. Great hands though, as you see right there. He slips up a little bit, but this guy can get it done. I think he's a great receiver. I think Mitchell Trubisky's happy, and if your quarterback is happy, it's a win-win for the franchise. Great pick. Probably an A- for the Chicago Bears.
All right, well, let's get to the number 8 overall pick. And, guys, stick with us. We're going to be having some of those attribute cards coming in so you can see how good some of these players were. They're coming in as we speak. We'll be looking at those with our draft expert, Sonny Weaver. But let's first get to the number 8 overall pick. On the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Lip. This team, they're looking for some playmakers. They are looking for some playmakers and looking for some playmakers hard. They want to compete more in that NFC South, such a tough division. No more Noah Spence, but they bring in Giovanni Bernard and Kyler Fackrell. But running back is a need. You've seen Giovanni Bernard, Lip. This guy is not a lead running back. He's a great sort of third down back. Is it too early here with the 8 overall pick to be looking at running back, or should they be looking somewhere else on the offensive side of the ball?
I don't think it's too early if that's the need that they think fits what they have. I think that the offensive line is pretty dang good. They've got Douglas Bell, left tackle. That's shored up. Donovan Smith at left guard. The whole way down this offensive line, they have good young players that are developing. So I think a running back's not out of the question because, like you said, Giovanni Bernard's not the great guy. He's 28 years old. We know what he is. So taking a halfback might be one of those things that really fits this team very well. And this is the thing. This is one of those teams, whenever we open the draft, I talk about drafts really well. And this is the result. They have the line. Now they can go get the fun player and a halfback and then let them run wild because that rushing offense, 29th in the MBL, really needs some help. So a young halfback could really give them a boost.
Well, the pick is in. We're going to throw it down to Hop, and then we're going to take a look at some of our first attribute guards before we announce some of the other picks. But let's throw it down to the commissioner's office, Hop, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pick here at number 8.
With the 8th overall pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select quarterback Stephen Greenway from Texas A&M.
Wow, quarterback is the pick. Let's throw it straight to Sonny Weaver. Sonny, was there a need here at quarterback? I mean, no more Jameis Winston. He left in the last season. Quarterback a need, but do you like them going with Stephen Greenway? And this run of quarterbacks continues here in the top 10.
Well, they had to go quarterback. Obviously, Jameis Winston gone. Drew Brees, I think, did some spots starting down there for him last year. The run on quarterbacks was coming to an end. I mean, if you didn't go to quarterback here, obviously you weren't going to get one later in this draft. So they go ahead, they pull a trigger on Stephen Greenway, who I have as the best quarterback still on the board right now. He's a guy, another big player. You know, we got a lot of 6'5" quarterbacks in this draft, a lot of bigger guys. I had him as a mid-round quarterback, or excuse me, a mid-first-round quarterback. I thought he had the ability to possibly come out last year and be a higher-rated quarterback, maybe a top 5 in this first round, but by far the best deep ball in this draft.
Bomber, they go quarterback at number 8. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are sort of an enigma. Does having a quarterback like Stephen Greenway, who I think a lot of people agree is a very good player, and is certainly a player that could be a quarterback of the future, do you see bright things for the future in Tampa Bay, or are you seeing them have more needs other than just at the quarterback position?
I think that was a great pick. I mean, you look at this team, they were 32nd, only getting 112 yards in passing per game. That was the lowest in the league. This is a team that needed a quarterback, and they love those big prototypical quarterbacks, and they get that with the 6'5", 227-pound Stephen Greenway from the University of from Texas A&M. He's got ability, and I like what he can do, and I like him paired with guys like Jamarcus Ross, John Brown. There's a lot of opportunity. Excuse me, Mike Evans. What am I talking about? I'm thinking he's on the Cardinals. So, you know, you got Mike Evans, O.J. Howard. I think that guy's going to really benefit. He almost had 1,000 yards last year. O.J. Howard came essentially out of nowhere. He wasn't putting up these kind of yards. He had 55 catches, 828 yards last season. Those were career highs for O.J. Howard. I expect him to hit 1,000 yards, Mike Evans to hit 1,000 yards, and I think this starts paying dividends for this passing attack that was so atrocious last season.
All right, now before we get to the next pick, which is the Los Angeles Rams, we're going to look back at, Fisher Fort. A lot of talks about Fisher Fort, but let's take a look at maybe some of those attributes coming off of that draft pick. The Chicago Bears, it is up on the screen, 81 overall. And the first thing you notice, that 93 speed at 6'6". Sonny, 6'6", 93 speed, 94 excel. It's rare to see a guy this tall be that quick off the ball, and he's got great hands with that 92 spec catch. This guy is an absolute stud.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in the comparison, Calvin Johnson is who I would compare him to, and looking at these attributes, obviously that's the first thing that's got to pop into most people's head. I think this guy right now coming into the league is a top 10 talent in the league. The guy he's ridiculous.
Bomber, this is a guy you're going to have to face in your division. 6'6", 93 speed, 94 jumping at 6'6". He kind of reminds me of what I think a even more athletic Kelvin Benjamin would be. A tall guy with a little more ups and that breakaway speed. He is going to be a tough matchup for any cornerback that has to go up against him.
Yeah, you're looking at the 94 jumping, 92 spec catch out of the box, essentially 23 years old. So he's got nice age on him as well. Man, this guy's going to be a monster. 93 speed, 94 excel. I didn't expect his acceleration to be as fast as it is. I would like to see his agility to see where that's at, but 87 catch in traffic, 87 route running out the box. Normal development, so maybe that, you know, might play into how quickly he develops, but how much more do you really need from a guy 6'6", 235? He's got the frame of Calvin Johnson, so I think Sonny's right on with that comparison. This guy's going to do some damage in the MBL.
Yeah, we're going to keep bringing you these player cards so you can see what our guys have drafted here as we move on to the next pick in the draft, and that is where we find Los Angeles Rams. And the Rams, they lost a lot of those players, Lip, that I think you think of as Los Angeles Rams. Robert Quinn, Michael Brockers, guys who have been there for a while. They bring in Levante David. But the question remains, who do they have running the ball? And who do they have? Throwing the ball. This is a team that has offensively not had that identity that we harp on so much. How close, though, are the Rams? I mean, the Rams were hanging in that NFC West for a while. Unfortunately, everybody was because of how bad it was. But is the Rams a real team that with a couple pieces here in the draft, they could be going for the division?
Just based on the division alone, I definitely think that this is a team that could be in there. But with the way the 49ers have built this team, I think that's the real team that's going to take this division. But looking at the Rams, I really think that they need help on the defensive side of the ball. They're not a really offensive-minded team. So I think if you mentioned all those people that they lost on the defensive side of the ball, they let up 25 points a game. And they play in that division that doesn't really put up a whole lot of points. So that's a huge question to me. Whenever the defense is this bad, they have to be able to play defense because the 49ers and the Seahawks are getting players that are going to make their offenses better. So I want to see the Rams go defense, stick to who they are. That's their identity. Play defense, and that's the direction that I think they should go.
All right, well, the pick is into the commissioner's office. Hop walking up to the podium. Let's find out where the Los Angeles Rams, I'm so proud I didn't say St. Louis once, the Los Angeles Rams pick here at number 9.
With the 9th overall pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Rams select defensive end Morgan Graves from the University of Wisconsin.
Morgan Graves the pick. They go defense, Sonny Weaver. Defense was an issue for this team. They're looking to get better. They want that division title. They know their division is winnable. This guy is quick. What do you like about him in a division that has a lot of those running backs that you're going to have to deal with, playing against the likes of Seattle, playing against the likes of San Francisco, and playing out west?
Well, as far as running backs go, Graves is more of your pass rusher. He can obviously shed those blocks, get outside and contain. But what I get excited about is in a division where you've got suspect quarterback play, I think Morgan Graves is going to feast. In that division, I could see this guy getting 15, 17 sacks a year. He just bull rushes people. He can run right over them, get to the quarterback, and honestly, I think this is a great pick here.
What sort of speed does he have laterally, though? I'm looking at the running backs in that division. Does he have the speed to seal the edge, or is this a guy who's more of a power right end that is going to try to blow through the tackles?
I mean, he's a smaller guy, 6'4", 266. He had long arms. He measured well at the combine with arm length, but I think he can get outside and contain. I'm not too worried about that. It's just not his forte. He's a pass rush specialist. I expect him to do that well there.
We were about to go to the 10th overall pick, which was the Broncos, but we have another trade here in the top 10, our third one of the top 10. Let's throw up that trade alert. And the trade is in. The Broncos sending their number 10 pick, the first round pick, to Atlanta. Atlanta trading up from 27th. They give up their first round this year, their second round this year, and their first next year. Lip, this is the second trade we have seen, a 3-for-1 trade, giving up their top 2 picks this year and their first next year. First of all, do you like it for Atlanta? Second of all, do you like it for any team giving up that much to move up 17 spots in the draft?
Yeah, I think that this is a team that has struggled with age and struggled with injuries, so they're moving up to get a guy that they believe will be there all 16 games of the season. I really am excited about this because I think that's a good move for them. And most of all, I think that they have to make this move because they have to compete in that division. The division's got a lot of tough teams. It's a tough division. It's switched a couple times, so I'm very excited to see the star that they're going to bring, because I know it's going to be a star.
Yeah, Bomber. Falcons trading up. As Lip mentioned, a team that is getting older and is needing some more weapons. So with the rookie draft, you got to think this was their signal that they're going all in this year to get a whole lot younger.
Yeah, you heard talks throughout the season that Matt Ryan was done, Julio Jones was done, 2 aging stars, Devontae Freeman only 600 yards on 104 carries. This is a team that can't stay healthy, and their star players are consistently getting hurt. I expected them to make a move. They make a big splash to move up to get another star player, and they're just going to cross their fingers and hope the guy that they draft can stay healthy and actually produce on the field.
So let's bring Sonny Weaver in. Sonny, this is a team, they trade up to here to get the 10th overall pick. They still have another pick in the first round at number 15. So they're clearly going all in for the first round. Where do you see them going here with number 10 and your thoughts on them moving up, giving up so much this year and their first next year to get to this number 10 overall spot?
Well, we talked about it earlier. Anytime you make a move like that, you would expect it to be for a quarterback. There are rumors Matty Ice's time may be up in Atlanta here next year, so could be grooming the quarterback of the future. I actually still see one quarterback on the board, Damon Henney from USC. I would still consider him to be a talent that's worth trading up for here. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, should be interesting. At number 10 overall, the last pick of the top 10, it is the Atlanta Falcons. Let's throw it down to Hop at the commissioner office, see where the Falcons go with this number 10 overall pick.
With the 10th overall pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Atlanta Falcons select receiver Deion Burse from the Notre Dame.
Okay, first of all, I don't think it's the Notre Dame.
It's not the
Notre Dame. Let's all settle down.
Try, Hop.
It's a good try, though. We appreciate Hop in the commission office for that one, but it's not the Notre Dame. Sonny, Deion Burse, which, by the way, I'd like to point, everything's falling apart here on MBL Live. It says they're Pittsburgh. Is it Notre Dame or Pittsburgh? They both have gold helmets.
Pittsburgh.
Okay, so it is Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Panthers out of the Big East. So I'm sure Pittsburgh is a big fan of being called Notre Dame. They're rivals. Sonny Weaver, what do you think of this guy? One of those grindy receivers that everybody knows is going to play hard every play.
Yeah, so when you look at Burse, this is a tough one for me, OSU. I got to tell you, I'm not sure I'm giving up all of that to go up for Burse. He's 5'11", 175, kind of a smaller guy. He's not as scared to go across the middle. I kind of project him out as a slot receiver. I don't think he's an outside receiver. I don't think he's the answer to replacing Julio Jones. He's got some speed. He runs nice routes, but I just don't see him as an outside receiver here in MBL. And I got a question giving up that much to go up and get him.
Even though he is from the Pittsburgh University, you wouldn't go up to get somebody from that sort of prestigious, the Pittsburgh Panthers?
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Panthers. Sorry, Deion, just not a believer yet. Show me.
You gotta prove, you gotta earn that is what I think everyone is trying to say. As we move out of the top 10, I'm OSU, and we got a whole lot of people here on the broadcast. We got the two commissions, Bomber and Lip, here with me, as well as our draft expert, Sonny Weaver. We'll be taking you throughout the end of the first round, so we got a lot of picks left. We're here at number 11, but we appreciate you tuning in. Hit that subscribe button down below so you know each and every time we go live. Our MBL Live season is just under a week away, and you're not going to want to miss any of those games. Get to see some of these young stars drafted here in the season 29 rookie draft. Let's get to the number 11 overall pick. That's where we find the Chicago Bears once again. Bomber, a team that has 2 picks in the top 11. We saw them take Fort with their first pick, addressing the wide receiver need. How valuable is it for the Chicago Bears to have these 2 early picks and be able to have a lot of flexibility with where they go?
Well, back to Fort. Fort, what a great pickup for a team that kind of fits right into their scheme. They like big receivers. They like Cameron Meredith. They like throwing the ball down the field. They have Morris Richardson to go underneath to. He fits perfectly into that scheme and how they're throwing the ball, as they are a ground and pound team with Jordan Howard. It's time to address the defensive side of the ball. This is the team that was 29th ranked. I said it earlier, giving up 27 points per game. You went with the offense. You went with the nice skill position that made your fan base happy earlier in this draft. Now it's time to take care of some business, shore up the front line, shore up the linebackers on your defensive side of the ball, and get some pressure to these quarterbacks. That's the only way you can win in the MBL. So I expect them to go defense, but right now, Chicago Bears have an opportunity to steal this draft.
To have the steal right now here with the number 11 overall pick?
Yeah, I mean, you draft Fort, and then you come back and draft another stud that essentially plays defense and can get in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball, whether it's outside linebacker, defensive line. You got an opportunity to steal the draft, because I think Fort is arguably the best offensive player in this draft.
Yeah, that's, let's see where they do go. The pick is in to our very own.
I just want to know what college the guy's coming
from.
That's where I'm excited right now.
It's going to start with a "the" for sure. Let's throw it down to Hop from the commissioner's office. See if this one goes a little smoothly. The number 11 overall pick, the Chicago Bears.
With the 11th overall pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Chicago Bears select left end Cedric Slade from Florida State University.
The Florida State University. Come on, man. Well, let's see. I think we got Cedric Slade's card here right now. Let's throw it to Sonny Weaver. Sonny, what do you think about Cedric Slade here at number 11?
Possibly the best player in this draft.
Yep.
Some people liked him a lot. I think a 3-4 defensive end is tough to say he's the best guy in the draft, but they say he's dominant. He could probably play inside in a 4-3, could play defensive tackle, 6'4", 297, good speed for a guy that size. I mean, the guy's going to lay you out. He gets inside and he'll battle. I think he's going to shore up this defense. And right now, I'm feeling good.
I'm sorry, Sonny. We're 0-2 on the back-to-back colleges. Florida State, that says Oklahoma right there. Where is he from? What's happening? Am I having a stroke? Is that what's happening?
He is actually from Florida State.
Okay. Bomber, comment on our stellar graphics team over here at the MBL Network.
Big shout out to Doughboy. He's obviously in season full thrive on the graphics so far. Guys, I also want to point out about Cedric Slade. What Sonny doesn't like about him, obviously, is size, right? So in 3-4, you're not really feeling that too much. But guess how old he is, Sonny? 21 years old. He's got one of the biggest upsides in the league because of that alone. Because of his age. He's 2 to 3 years younger than most of these guys on this defensive line, and he's just as talented, arguably the most talented. So there's a big opportunity here for Slade. And yes, no relation to Gianni Slade of the Detroit Lions defensive tackle. But, I mean, that would make a nice JY storyline. Okay, well, before we move on, we brought in Doughboy. We brought in to talk about his pick, the Atlanta Falcons at number 10. But first, to answer for his crimes against graphics, Doughboy, my first question for you is, you do know that Florida and Oklahoma, they're two totally different states. They're not even in the same area.
Notre Dame is not in Oklahoma.
The old deflect. Beautifully done. Beautifully done, Doughboy. Bob, that was a masterful deflection by our very own Doughboy. But
and nothing. I'm just surprised he's awake at this point. I was kind of worried that we'd bring him in here and he might be done for the night.
I wanted 2 picks in the first 15 so I could go to bed. So
there it is. Well, let's talk about where you trade up. Give up a lot to get to that number 10 overall spot. First and second this year and a first next year. Talk a little bit about how that trade came together and why you guys decided to go with giving up so much to get up to number 10.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, we had 3 QBs in our top 5, and they all fell. We tried to get as high as we could. We talked to the Broncos about moving up, and that happened. So if the QBs fell, we were going to take one, and when they went, the war room was ready. Julio is aging, and we wanted some more offensive power. So we decided to go with the deep threat bursts. He had a great combine, and he just was the best.
His 30 seconds is up. His 30 seconds
All right, well,
let's. I got to know one question before he gets out of here. Doughboy, I got to know. The wide receiver you selected, is that a little bit of an HB18 reach? You saw the production he had last year. You're trying to come in here and replicate that. This is a copycat league. Is that something that you're looking at right now and saying, hey, I moved up because I'm hoping he gets that kind of production for me and he can be that kind of an asset in this offense with an aging Julio Jones and Matt Ryan?
I want 3 Beckhams.
3 HB 318, is that what you're looking for?
The plan is in full thrive.
Full thrive. All right, let's get this guy out of here.
Well, Doughboy, we appreciate you hopping in.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good nap.
I didn't expect him to say 3 Beckhams. So that was kind of a funny break.
I enjoyed it. We got Dion Burst.
I expect him to take 3 guards.
Hey, full thrive here on the MBL Network. We got Dion Burst's card up there. Bomber, you talked about Harvey Beckham. This guy comes in 94 speed, 96 acceleration. Some work to be done, especially spec catch is down at 77, 84 jump. This guy is clearly a speed wide receiver. He's going to be a burner in Atlanta.
Yeah, you see some similarities between him and Harvey Beckham. A little bit smaller. But probably plays a lot taller. I think it was a good pick. I don't like moving up, though, for smaller receivers. Harvey was obviously drafted, I believe, 23rd, 24th in the NBL Season 28 rookie draft. Kind of where, and he was a Heisman winner. This guy was not a Heisman Award winner. So there's those kind of differences, but when you see something that works and Atlanta wants to get over that hump, they're tired of being a contender, a pretender. They want to be an actual contender, and I think this might give them the juice that they feel their offense can have a little bit more punch as their wide receivers are declining with age.
Let's throw up. Yeah, we got Cedric Slade's card up there. He just went at number 11. Lip, this guy playing on the defensive end, 92 strength as a defensive end, 78 block shed, 84 power moves, at 6'4", 297. This is a guy who's almost built like a defensive tackle playing on the end. How does he fit in Chicago's defense?
I think that's a great move because they really need somebody on the defensive side, and they needed somebody on the offensive side, and they got both of them. I think that totally kills the draft. And the fact that this dude is so strong, that 92 strength, he's going to be able to hold up on that defensive line. There's going to be so many offensive linemen that are going to have nightmares about this guy. And then whenever you look at the Bears as a whole, whenever you play the Bears now, you're definitely going to have to game plan for both of these guys, and that's exactly what the Bears wanted, and they killed it.
All right, well, we're going to the number 12 overall pick. It's supposed to be the Indianapolis Colts. We've got another trade sent in here on the MBL Network. A trade alert here at number 12. Yes, another trade here. The number 12 overall pick. The Indianapolis Colts sending that one to the Los Angeles Chargers in exchange for their first and second round pick this year. Not quite the haul that some of these other teams got. Let me throw it to Sonny Weaver. Sonny, the Chargers give up a first and second to move up 12 spots. The Falcons and the Vikings both gave up 3 picks, including their first next year, to move up. The Vikings moved up 13 spots. Falcons moving up 17 spots. Are you surprised the Colts didn't get more for the 12th overall pick?
Yeah, a little bit. They're obviously in my division, so I'm happy with that. That Tout still can't run his team. Shout out to Tout.
Always.
But yeah, anytime you're moving up there towards the front half of the draft, you expect a little bit more in return. I think post quarterback, the return on investment wasn't as good. I think people realized that once that quarterback ran happened, they weren't as interested in giving it up. We talked about what you have to give up to move up there. Not so much now.
Let's take a look at the Los Angeles Chargers. Lip. They didn't do a whole lot, but they still found a way to do a whole lot. And this is a team that won the AFC West. They get to move up to number 12 and get a great player here, you'd think. And they picked up Carson Wentz. This was a team that struggled at the quarterback position. Jay Cutler, which is never good to say as your starting quarterback, and Cardale Jones started for the Chargers, maybe held them back a little bit. What does Carson Wentz bring to Los Angeles? This makes them a scary team to face out in the AFC.
This makes them terrifying. This makes them maybe the scariest team in the AFC. They went 12-4 between Cardale Jones and Jay Cutler. Are you kidding me? When this offseason came around and we knew that there were so many talented quarterbacks in this draft, I thought that for sure this would be one of the teams to trade up to grab one. And then they pick up Carson Wentz, which makes them a complete team. So now that they trade up, I'm terrified because if they go on the defensive side of the ball, there's a couple stars, absolute stars on the defensive side left in this draft. If they take one of them and increase that defense that was already in the top 10, that makes them a terrifying team because now they have the leader of the team in Carson Wentz, and now they're going to have a stud rookie to place on an already extremely talented defense.
Yeah, talk about adding a stud rookie to a defense that includes Joey Bosa. That just sounds fun to play against. The pick is in. Let's throw it down to Hop. We're going for our third straight pick. Maybe this time there'll be no mistakes. The pick is in here to the Los Angeles Chargers.
With the 12th overall pick in the Season 29 MBL draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select outside linebacker Ben Fowler, LSU.
Oh, they do go defensive side of the ball. Sonny Weaver, I know you're a big fan of this kid out of LSU. That SEC defense coming to Los Angeles at linebacker to sort of back up the Joey Bosa train. This defense is becoming one of the best in the NBL, not just the AFC. What do you like at Ben Fowler out of LSU?
Well, I like Fowler. I think he's an athletic guy. A little bit smaller, only 6'2", 228. Kind of curious what they're doing out there with the Chargers. More of a 4-3 linebacker. They're historically a 3-4 out there in LA now. Excuse me, I almost said San Diego.
Yeah, it's not San Diego.
Yeah,
Come on, guys.
Got it. But, you know, I think he's great. You know, I'd love to see him as a middle backer if he's going to play outside. Maybe a little bit undersized, could be more of a hybrid defense out there now. Anytime you get him out there on coverage, I think he's going to be able to run with slot cornerbacks and tight ends, or excuse me, slot wide receivers and tight ends. I like the guy a lot. I'm just not quite sure it's a fit here.
Well, very interesting pick for the LA Chargers. And Lip, I feel bad because I know you talked about how scared to be going on the defensive side of the ball. Throw up his player card right here. This dude, 88 speed, 82 block shed, 76 hit power, and superstar dev. Good pick for the Chargers. Ranked 22 in true talent. They drafted him at 12. They got a guy who got that superstar development. It's an underrated trait, and they're going to have the ability to develop this guy behind Joey Bosa. This defense just got scary, and I didn't think it was possible.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of talent on this defensive side of the ball. You look at that front, you got Joey Bosa. You got Corey Lugent, who's 30 but still getting very good. You got Haynes Robinson and Melvin Ingram. And then, you know, the linebacking core. Gubbs always had tremendously talented linebackers. He knows when to take them. And this move is pretty incredible because, like we said, Carson Wentz comes into town. Now you've made this move, and you hit an absolute home run with this pick. And you still have a very talented Jason Verrett and Casey Hayward in the secondary. I'm not sure how you move the ball in this defense now. And wait until this kid develops. Wait until he becomes the leader of the defense. It's going to be unbelievable.
If you're playing in the AFC West, which is me, I don't feel good. I don't like this at all. I feel like I need to file a complaint with the commissioner's office because this team's gotten too good. I don't like it whatsoever. Let's go to our next pick at number 13 overall. We're staying in the AFC West. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. Bomber, the Chiefs, they got rid of two real big-name players. There's no more Cliff Averill. They get rid of Kareem Hunt, a guy who never really meshed with the Chiefs. They bring in Shady McCoy at running back. A big upgrade for a team that was looking for more of a power back. I think McCoy has a lot left in the tank for Kansas City. What do you see from LaShawn McCoy out in Kansas City against these defenses in the AFC West?
Yeah, this owner actually has a history of bringing in more veteran kind of halfbacks. He did well with TJ Logan last year, 149 carries, 836 yards, 8 touchdowns. Kind of interesting to see him go away from a guy like TJ Logan to bring in LaShawn McCoy. TJ Logan, obviously 25 years old, maybe some injury issues, was nagged with injury just a little bit last season, had his most carries he's had in his career in this cycle. So LaShawn McCoy, he can help you in the passing attack still. Even though he's a little older, a little slower, he's still got the agility. He's still one of the elite receivers in the backfield. I expect this guy to get carries. I expect LaShawn McCoy to get carries and to get those kind of receptions and maybe open up the offense a little bit for James, and I can't pronounce his last name, the quarterback.
Oh, you mean James Trachar? That's the one?
Exactly. If he can get some passes out to LaShawn McCoy, and McCoy can do some work and get them in those third and manageables and also be a third down halfback, I think a nice duo between Logan and McCoy could be beneficial for this offense.
Well, the pick is in. There's no more waiting. Let's see where the Kansas City Chiefs go. Hot from the commissioner's office is at the podium.
With the 13th overall pick in the Season 29 MBL draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select left tackle Anthony Eaton, LSU.
And let's go to Sonny Weaver. They go with one of the big hosses, back-to-back players out of Louisiana State, the Tigers. Gooks Tigers, as they say in Louisiana. Anthony Eaton, what do you like about this guy on the offensive line?
Long arms. That's what it comes down to. The guy's got long arms, pass protection. You talk about tackles. The guy can keep the defenders off his body, kick them to the outside. This guy is going to start day one protecting the blind side of, I'm not going to name his name. Exactly. And he's going to be a Pro Bowler probably within the first 2 years he's playing. I'm telling you, this guy was made to play in this league. I love this pick here. I'm surprised he fell that far. I thought, you know, you could have mixed Eaton and maybe Osgood in with some of those quarterbacks there in the top 10.
Let's keep you here. We're going to look at his player card as it's come in. 90 strength, 83 run block, 84 pass block, 84 impact block. Those are exact numbers that you want to see drafting a lineman. And then you add in that quick development out of LSU. This guy seems like he's going to be able to be built up to be a stud.
Yeah, he's going to be great. A little worried there about the 58 speed. I kind of worry that edge rusher is going to be able to turn the corner on him. But nonetheless, this guy is a stud right now. Quick development, always good. Look for Anthony Eaton to be one of the best in MBL.
What a player they get here. Let's go to our next pick. I believe is the I believe it's the New York Jets coming up at number 14. The Jets have that 14 overall pick. It looked like they were in talks for a trade with the Eagles. It ended up not coming through. Bomber, you've seen that happen every once in a while here in the MBL. How does that change your draft position when all of a sudden you're not drafting, you're not completing a trade where you thought you were?
Yeah, I think this was a team in desperate need of a quarterback. They had Kirk Cousins, had M&M is what they call him in for the Jets.
I mean, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. Another quarterback that just isn't going to be able to develop at the way that they want to develop. So they were looking at getting a quarterback. The trade didn't happen. It didn't go through at the last minute, but there's still a couple quarterbacks on the board. There's an opportunity here for the New York Jets to get better at that position. I expect them to go quarterback right now.
Yeah, your thoughts of the New York Jets not completing that trade. Now they at that number 14 overall pick. Do you agree with Bomber that quarterback is where they need to go? This was a team that really played well in the AFC East and found a way to compete till the last day, but offensively they had their struggles.
Yeah, I think Matt has a lot of time left. I think that he can still be salvaged. But the interesting thing about this team that I think that could change the game in that division is their defense is actually pretty good. They're top 10 in points. They're number 2 against the rush. But the pass defense is what they lack at number 25 in MBL. So I think if they could bring in a defender, maybe a pass rusher, maybe somebody in the secondary to shore up that portion of their defense and let Matt, you know who, develop a little bit longer, I think that they could have a solid team. And I don't think that division has such an explosive threat in any of the other teams that you're not going to have to play keep up or you're not going to have to play tremendous defense. So I think if you have a solid defense and just control what the quarterback's doing in terms of making him make smart throws, I think that could be a solid formula for winning that division for the Jets.
Yeah, I believe the pick is into the commissioner's office. Here we got the New York Jets at number 14. Hop at the podium. Let's see where the Jets go. The crowd raucous for the New York Jets pick, as they always are.
With the 14th overall pick in the Season 29 NBL Draft, the New York Jets select cornerback Marcel Short, Clemson.
And there you go. The pick is in. Sonny Weaver, they go defensive side of the ball. They take a cornerback. Both guys over here thought offense was where they were going to go. What do you think of the Jets sort of bucking the trend, picking only the second cornerback we've seen, the first one since the number 1 overall pick?
That's little bit of a head scratcher there for me. I'm Short wasn't even projected for me as a first rounder. I think the guy is wow. That's a head scratcher.
Bomber, I think this is the first time I've ever heard Sonny Weaver speechless.
Absolutely. You didn't expect the team to go cornerback. They got some good cornerbacks in the free agency a couple seasons ago. Kind of a really dumbfounded pick right now. If you're a New York Jets fan, you're definitely left scratching your head and wondering why the last quarterback, Henne, wasn't taken off the board and you weren't selecting him. If you really thought that quarterback position was what you needed, they decided to pass on him. So here we are. They decided to go with cornerback, and we just hope it works out for him.
Well, let's move on. Let's go to the Atlanta Falcons, who are next up. Another pick for the Falcons here in the first half of the draft. Lip, you've had this happen a couple times. What sort of strategic plans are there when you end up getting those 2 picks, when you end up getting a trade up and creating a blockbuster and able to pick up a second pick in the first round? How does that change where you go with your second pick than you had maybe before with this original one?
Well, I think that it's always a risk to move up, but I think it was a very interesting play by the Falcons. We've talked about how Matt Ryan and Julio Jones are getting older, and they never stay healthy. So I think that the plan was to move up, and if you move up, you can draft one of those quarterbacks. If all the guys that you liked are gone, then you can still make a play for a talented wide receiver or a talented person at another position, and we saw that with their first pick. What's now dangerous is that they're in this position, and some really talented people are off the board. I think, though, the Jets move allows a door to open for the Falcons to get better on defense in the secondary, but I'm not exactly sure because that's not how they've developed teams.
All right, well, let's throw it over to Sonny Weaver. Sonny, Falcons' second pick. They go with the wide receiver Burst with the first pick at number 10, now with the second one in 5 picks. This one they got via New England in a trade last year. Where do you like the Falcons going here with this 15th overall pick?
Well, we talked about last time. We talked about the departure of Matty Ice, Damon Henny. Still out there from USC. He could be the 1-2 combo there with Burst. Rookie to rookie quarterbacks growing together. That's always a great thing to see. And there's obviously some other options. They lost some guys on the defensive side of the ball. As Lip alluded to, there's some guys falling now because of some picks above them. I kind of like quarterback here.
You like quarterback? And let's throw it down to the commissioner's office with Hop at the podium here. The Atlanta Falcons' second pick of the top 15. Let's see where they go.
With the 15th overall pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Atlanta Falcons go receiver Ronnie Bradford, Notre Dame.
The Notre Dame, I believe, is how it's supposed
to be. Notre Dame, Hop.
Well, Ronnie Bradford, let's throw up his player card right away, Sonny. This guy, well, if he didn't go with HB18 first, he got him here. 95 speed, 92 excel, 81 catch and traffic, 81 catch. This guy, they're clearly going for burners here with their first 2 picks at wide receiver. Do you like picking a receiver that's basically a slightly faster but slightly worse hands than than Burst with that number 10 pick?
Well, I guess, you swing a couple times, you're bound to hit on something. They're going with these short wide receivers, and that's an interesting departure for the Atlanta Falcons. They had Mohamed Sanu. This probably signals the end of Julio Jones. Not sure what that means for Matt Ryan. Did they re-sign Matt Ryan, let Julio Jones leave? Sanu's gone after this year, left this year. So they're going to have 2 rookie wide receivers out there playing. Kind of interesting move. I'm not sure that's the way I'd want to approach it with 2 young guys out there catching, but we'll see how that goes.
Bomber, your thoughts? You accuse the copycat league. Did they just get 2 HB18s, or is this all just a mirage that's going to get broken in the NFC South?
Low, watered down versions of Harvey Beckham. No, good picks. I think Julio Jones is gone next year. I mean, these are some injury-prone receivers, especially in college. You notice that they missed multiple games in their last season there. So there's opportunity here for playing time for both of these guys, and you just got to hope they stay healthy. As we've seen, these frail, smaller receivers is kind of an anomaly when you see them play 17 games like Harvey Beckham played in his rookie year with the kind of production he had. Usually you see these guys go down. So a team with a history of injuries, let's see if they can kind of break that curse. And I don't know if they're kind of doing themselves many favors by going with such brittle wide receivers.
All right, let's go to the number 16 overall pick. Bomber, I'm going to throw this right back to you because this is a team we've talked about a lot, the Washington Redskins. You've been very critical of this team of not having an identity. Well, no more Sean Porter, no more Ryan Kerrigan. They bring in James Bradbury to fill up that secondary. But where do you think the Redskins need to go here at the number 16 overall pick in an effort to maybe find that identity? Because I agree with you. I don't think this team has an identity. It's why it's been hurting them so often.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's all about identity with the Washington Redskins. They don't have one. They were, kind of a run team. You had P. Ryan, and then you had Belisari come out of nowhere in MBL season 27 and 28. And you say, okay, now their identity is passing, but then they kind of get stuck in between. I think they need to forget the offense. The offense is fine right now. You have Jordan Reeves, Josh Dotson, Wayne Whiteside, wide receiver, along with Jamison Crowder. You have depth, and even the older Greg Olsen can give you just a little bit of what you need. You were 3rd in points scored last season. Let's go on the defensive side. Let's shore up the pass rush. You were 32nd, giving up 245.6 yards a game in the passing attack. Let's see if you can get a defensive lineman that can get some pressure to the opposing quarterback and kind of draw that number down. I want to see them in the top 16 this season.
Leb, what do you think the Redskins need to do in this draft to get themselves to a place where maybe they're winning that NFC East?
I think Bomber's exactly right. You look at their offense. It's a very good offense. 3rd in points, 9th in passing. They're a very good offense, a very solid offense, but you look at defense, dead last in total yards, dead last in pass defense. that tells me that you have to go defense. And I'm going to say, if they do not go defense with all of the studs that have fallen because of the run on quarterbacks early, if you do not go defense, you're going to have a long season, because if you haven't gotten any better on defense, it's going to be a troubling season, because you're just going to be playing offense and might as well not even try on defense with the way this defense has progressed.
All right, let's throw it to Sonny Weaver. Sonny, a lot of guys, they're saying defense is the place for the Washington Redskins. Before we talk about where you think they're going to go, how close is this Redskins team? I know you were high on this team last season. How close is this Redskins team to actually winning this division, as opposed to being a team that's competing but not quite getting there?
Well, I was very high on them last year, and then you had the Dallas Cowboys just sneak right up on them and take them. I think they're slipping back. Like Lip said, that defense is backsliding. I do like the addition of Bradbury. I think he's a heck of a player. Great last name there.
All right, settle down.
But the defense has got to get better.
Your last name is Weaver. Settle down.
Weaver. Yep.
Well, let's find out who the Redskins go. Let's throw it down to the commissioner office. Hobb with the pick, number 16 overall, the Washington Redskins.
With the 16th overall pick in the Season 29 MBL draft, the Washington Redskins select middle linebacker Willis Brennan, UCLA.
And the pick is Willis Brennan out of UCLA. And that college is correct, so we're already on a good stretch right here. We've had a couple correct picks with correct colleges. Throw it to Sonny Weaver. Sonny, Willis Brennan, one of our first linebackers we've seen. Not a whole lot on the defensive side of the ball. We've seen a lot of cornerbacks, but a lot of people saying this is the right choice for this Washington Redskins team going on defense to replace Ryan Kerrigan.
Well, Brennan plays middle linebacker here. So in this 3-4, not sure he's replacing Kerrigan, but what he is doing is he's bringing a force in the middle. The guy's going to shed those blocks, and he can pop them in the middle of that field. He's going to make people pay for trying to come across the middle. Coverage is something that's going to have to be improved on. But I think as far as shutting down the run, and when you're talking about that division, you got Zeke Elliott there. I think Willis Brennan's a great pick here.
We got the Green Bay Packers at number 17. Bomber, this Packers team, I'm going to go out on a limb. You tell me whether or not you agree with me. I think this Packers team is the best team nobody's talking about. This team impressed me a whole lot last year in a very tough division. You play against this team twice a season. What do you see out of the Green Bay Packers that you like moving forward in the next couple of seasons?
Much more explosive offense than probably is giving credit for. They're averaging 25 points per game. That's 12th in the MBL, passing their 4th, rushing their 18th, and they're a completely different team when they have DeMarco Riley on the field. I think that guy's the key to their success if he can just stay healthy at the halfback position. This team, I agree, is a team that most people don't talk about, but they got to go on the defensive side of the ball. They have to get better on defense, and they have a lot of holes to fill, so a lot of players to choose from right now.
Yeah, Sonny Weaver, I think defense, everybody sort of agrees there's a big need after last year, but you saw this team make some moves defensively. They brought in Noah Spence. They brought in Brandon Coleman. So this team, Noah Spence, I think, is a great young player, younger player. But do you think they still go young defensively, or do you see them maybe trying to get more explosive offensively to keep up with the offenses in the NFC North?
Yeah, that's the question. You got the NFC North, which means you just saw Fort come off the board. That's a scary proposition. Maybe you look to the defensive secondary. I know they've got some cornerback issues out there. Hepburn's still on the board. I believe Bronson Hartman also should be on the board out there. So you got two great options there, depending on if you want to go more of a zone or a man coverage. I think they go secondary.
Secondary is the picker. We haven't seen a whole lot of cornerbacks off the board.
No, not really, and that's kind of surprising. Normally there's a pretty good run there, but not so much now.
Well, I believe the pick is in. I'll settle down. We don't want to call Hop the commissioner. He already feels a little too high and tight here on the MBL. No, settle down. You settle down. You get to the podium and go ahead and announce who the Green Bay Packers go with their pick.
With the 17th overall pick in the Season 29 MBL draft, the Green Bay Packers select cornerback Carlos Hepburn, Michigan State.
Bomber, did you see that? He got a little testy with me right there when I called him out. Is that okay?
A little bit, but yeah, that's fine for this situation right now. We'll say it's fine on the air. We'll handle it when we get off the air. But Carlos Hepburn, a great cornerback. Actually, the cornerback that I thought was the best cornerback in the draft. I was surprised to see the #1 overall pick go cornerback, and it wasn't Harlos Hepburn, but I'm going with this guy as the #1 cornerback on my draft board, and I think the Green Bay Packers made a great decision right there. Passing yards, they were 29th last season. They bring in a guy like Hepburn. They got an opportunity to lock down now, give their defensive line just a little bit more time to get to the quarterback. Things will start changing. This 9-7 team is on the rise right now. Expect double-digit wins from the Green Bay Packers in MBL Season 29.
Sonny, we got his attribute card up on the board. 94 speed, 86 man coverage. This is a guy who he's, as it says there, he's a man-to-man cornerback, 75 zone. When you get guys out like this out of college that are maybe skewed one way or the other, whether it's man or zone, where do you see most people developing them? Like, do you tend to put more into the zone coverage to make him more well-balanced, or do you go, well, this guy's a man-to-man guy, let's shore him up in the strength that he has?
Well, I think you got to mix it up. So you're going to play it however you have to play it. The zone coverage is going to come along. It's not a big deal. The man coverage is pretty impressive. I think the 90 agility. Now, that 90 agility for somebody that's 6'2", 194 pounds, that's really impressive to me. That's a big guy out there. Don't be throwing him any jump balls. Harlos Hepburn. Interesting name.
Great name. I'm a fan.
It's Carlos with an H.
It's a Ha.
It's a Harlos. Great pick there by the Packers. Let's move on to the number 18 overall pick. The most improved owner of the MBL last season, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Owner, what's his name? Hulk. I think his name is Hulk. Is that the proper name?
That is very proper, and he's probably turning green somewhere right now.
Turning green. Well, the Jaguars got rid of a lot of those big contracts. They got rid of Allen Hurns. They got rid of Calais Campbell. They bring in Mike Daniels, but they really got sort of those cap hits between Hurns and Campbell off the books. Two talented guys, but guys who were looking for big contracts, Lip. Those are two guys that I think most would agree are very, very good players. Are you surprised to see the Jaguars, a team that finally had some success last season, let go of such mainstays and try to rebuild more through the draft?
Yeah, and they talked about they didn't want to have that money riding on those older guys for much longer, so they just decided to cut them, to let them go free now, and that's a good move because you don't want to keep those guys longer than they can produce for you. This Jaguars team has done very, very well. I'm very impressed with Daniel Shirley. There was a lot of questions around him whenever he came out. He actually turned it on and has played very well. The defense is still good. They still have two great corners. I think that they might take a step back because they've let some guys go. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them go defense. But also, I'm not very convinced that this offense couldn't use a run game. Being 27th in the MBL in rushing, that would only help Daniel Shirley and only help the Jaguars win more games.
Sonny Weaver, there are a lot of places the Jaguars could go. This is one of those teams that they have a lot of places to go because not so much there are holes per se, but more they could just become a better team by getting better players. Sonny, you're laughing because I know they're in your division, so what do you see from this team moving forward?
I see them still not winning the division. That's pretty much what I see from this team. Well, what can I say? No, they're making good improvements here as a team. As they're throwing out their offensive line, definitely something they're going to have to try to get under control. They've got some holes there that need filled. Safety is an area that they could use. I thought they'd maybe attack that in free agency. Wasn't something they went after. And then even the defensive line, Malik Jackson gone, Calais Campbell gone. There's some good defensive ends on the board right now still. So they've got a lot of options still, and that's why they're drafting so high.
Well, let's see where they go. The pick is into the office. Hop going up to the podium. Let's see where the Jacksonville Jaguars go with the 18th overall pick.
With the 18th overall pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars go left tackle Myron Osgood, Pittsburgh.
Oh, and Lip, this is maybe bucking the trend. We see another big hoss on the offensive line. Do you like the pick with them going with the big left tackle?
I love the pick because it's going to give Shirley more protection, and that's something you can never argue against, especially whenever you're, in my opinion, I think they have a good enough defense They've had a good passing attack, so you just give him more protection, and maybe that is the answer to their rushing problems. Leonard Fournette missed almost all of MBL season 26. He was around for all of season 27, but then last year in season 28, he missed 3 games and still only had just over 600 yards. So I think, aside from his health, if he's there all year and you have a better offensive line, which you do now with that pick, that really does help that run game, which is what Daniel Shirley needs, and that's really huge for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, Sonny Weaver, Myron Osgood, because this is a team that looks like a different team when Leonard Fournette is on the field, but Fournette has not been able to stay healthy. Does picking up an offensive lineman, is that going to help Fournette stay healthy, or is this just a guy that no matter how many hits he takes, he's going to go down, and at that point, the Jaguars are a different-looking offensive team?
Well, anytime you take your running game away and get one-dimensional, you're going to struggle. Daniel Shirley obviously is not carrying that load there. He had a better year from his rookie year, which you expect. Still hasn't flashed what we thought would be #1 overall talent in the MBL. So Leonard Fournette needs to shoulder a lot of that load. Obviously, Osgood's not going to make him stay healthy, but what Osgood's going to do is open up more holes, so maybe he doesn't get hit so hard behind the line of scrimmage.
And let's take a look at that attribute card for Osgood. See what the Jacksonville Jaguars are getting out of this guy. Overall, 77 run block, 86 pass block. So this guy trying to protect Daniel Shirley, 87 strength, 88 impact block. You look at these stats, Sonny, what do you see? You were big on some of the other offensive linemen. Do you see this guy being as impactful as some of those other guys you think are going to be Pro Bowlers in the next year or two?
Yeah, I think he definitely has that ability. Probably not as polished, is what you would expect. But I think the run blocking will come. That's all hand technique. Getting inside, he's going to get called for a lot of holding calls, I think, in the pros. But that's something they'll figure out early. The good coaching down there will help. And, I think Pro Bowls are in the future for Myron Osgood. Shout out second Pitt Panther we've seen already tonight.
The Pittsburgh Panthers getting a lot of play.
Not Notre Dame.
There we go. I think that's the most important thing we've learned today, folks. Pittsburgh and Notre Dame. They're not the same place, just in case you were wondering. As we move on to the number 19th pick, and this is a team that has systematically traded back. Finally, get to talk about the Arizona Cardinals. This team wheeling and dealing on the draft floor. No more Robert Nkemdiche, no more Traymon Hall. They bring in Carl Nassib, but we know this team, they wanted to build through the draft. Interesting seeing a team trade back twice, but they have a haul of picks for the next couple of seasons, and they're still sitting here at 19. Where do you like the Cardinals going, and what do you think of their strategy doing so many trades back?
These are really good moves for the Cardinals. They take advantage of having an early pick by trading back and getting more picks, which I'm always in favor of whenever you are trying to build a lot and build your depth. The thing that they need to get production out of is the quarterback position. Cam Newton only 6 touchdowns last year, ranked 32nd in passing in the NBA. But the thing is, they have a good offensive line, and they have a great rushing attack. David Johnson has been unbelievable in the MBL as far as rush attack, not really getting a whole lot of attention. This year he was nominated for the MVP, didn't quite get it, had a phenomenal year this year as well as last year. Their rushing attack is very good, so if they can get something going in the passing game with a good offensive line and a good rushing attack, this could be a real team. And like we said, they play in a division, 7-9 won it. I'm not saying that they're going to win 10 games, but I'm saying they are on the right path to taking those steps towards being in contention for that division.
Well, the pick is into the commissioner's office. The Arizona Cardinals trade back twice. Let's see if they got the player they were looking for here. The number 19 overall pick. Let's throw it down to Hop at the podium.
With the 19th overall pick in the season 29 NBL draft, the Arizona Cardinals select quarterback Damon Henney, USC.
Sonny Weaver, they get their quarterback. First of all, can we talk for a second about how many quarterbacks USC has going? I mean, I'm just saying, we saw already one USC quarterback. This is Damon Henney, who's projected a higher overall pick. What is in the water out in Southern California?
Well, we talked about it a little bit. Obviously, Vanover was more of their wildcat quarterback. He came in special packages, and then you had Henney and Geralt. And so Geralt and Henney, they had some issues throughout the year, kind of going back and forth. Both of them had talent. They didn't want either to leave, so they split some playing time. And you know what they say, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. Led to some struggles for USC, mainly because I think there was some miscommunications between the wide receivers and the quarterbacks. I like Kenny. I think Kenny maybe in this group, in this class, the forgotten guy, obviously, because he had to split some time with Gerald. My question right now is, Arizona Cardinals, Cam Newton's not the issue. There were bigger issues there. You're paying Cam Newton a lot of money now to what? Maybe mentor this guy, to maybe sit on the bench behind this guy. I think that's just a bad pick there for the Cardinals.
Well, let's throw up that attribute card, and Sonny, stick with me. This is a guy we actually heard in the chat, our own group me, how happy owner JY was to get their guy. This is a guy that they still had top of their board, and they still get him even though they trade back twice. You look at his numbers: 76 D-pack, 83 medium, and 88 short. Are those numbers of a guy that you should be excited about? I mean, it was a good pick, 87 throw power, so he's got an arm. But this is a team that struggled with a guy like Cam Newton, who has a lot of talent. What is Damon Henney going to do differently for the Arizona Cardinals?
I'm not real sure anything. I look at this guy and he doesn't really possess anything that makes him better than Cam Newton. Weaker arm, no mobility, maybe slightly better accuracy on short throws, but his play action and throw on the run, not quite as good. He's just a guy. I mean, to a team that really was quarterback needy, I could see it, but not here.
Well, let's go to our next pick, the Carolina Panthers. Briefly talking about this Panthers team. Defensively, they were a nightmare, and not in like the nightmare as in a nightmare for other teams, a nightmare for their fans. This defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, but they managed to score a lot of points. They get rid of a lot of their defense. James Bradbury and Mario Addison are out. They bring in Derek Kindred. They bring in Desmond King, but this was a team that spent so much money last season in free agency, bringing in players and spending some money, and it seemed to not help their defense one little bit.
Yeah, on Commissioner Corner podcast, not sure what episode, but it was last offseason. We were talking about Shaq Thompson coming in and not really bringing anything to the table, and that was such a questionable thing. And when you look back on it now, he got such a massive deal. 7 years, over $80 million. That was such a huge deal. He had 2 sacks last season. 2 sacks. That is exactly what we all saw coming when the Panthers gave him this contract. And now you're in this position where you have one of the worst, probably the worst defense in MBL. But the bright spot for them is they have one heck of an offense. Heath Joyce is absolutely amazing. You have Christian McCaffrey, of course, and then Curtis Samuel coming out with 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. That's a very potent offense. If you could just get some players to go on that defense and just hold them to just a little bit less, that could be enough to win 10 or 11 games, 1 or 2 games, and put them in the position to win the division.
Sonny Weaver, let's bring you in. I'm going to ask you a simple question. What's wrong with the Panthers defense? I mean, is there anything that's going to fix it? Is this a scheme problem, or are we looking at a real lack of talent?
Well, we've heard they fired their defensive coordinator there. The plan is to switch to a 3-4 defense in Carolina. And so now the question becomes, what do you need to do? I'm not sure the defensive line's really built for a 3-4 currently. They don't have the outside linebackers for pass rush. But nonetheless, they've got to try something at this point because the 4-3 is not getting it done. So you really could go anywhere in the front 7 here to try to fix this, because right now it's the worst defense in NBL.
Well, the pick is in. The Carolina Panthers are ready to announce their pick here at number 20. Let's throw it down to Hop at the podium and see where the NFC South Carolina Panthers are going.
With the 20th overall pick in the season 29 NBL draft, the Carolina Panthers select middle linebacker Rayshawn Johns, Penn State.
The Penn State University. Sonny Weaver, they go middle linebacker. Does this solve their problems? Is this finally where the Panthers are able to stop somebody, or is this just another player that's going to get lost on a bad defense?
No, I like Rayshawn Johns. I think the issue here, he just did not have a good combine. And when I say he didn't have a good combine, I'm saying he didn't have a good interview process. He didn't have a good Wonderlic. The rumors coming out of there is you'd basically give it a failing grade. Some people had some questions about it. Some of the answers interview-wise, they question his ability to learn a new scheme. And so it'll be interesting here. I think you're going to have to kind of take him along. But he's a guy that, he can play. I mean, he can play. He's a guy that once he learns the scheme, he's going to be okay. But that may take a year or two before he's ready to actually step on the field.
Well, let's go to our next team who's up, which is the Seattle Seahawks. Bomber, what do you make of this team? The Seahawks team went 7-9 and won their division, so they still have actually a decent draft pick, but they sort of got exposed in the playoffs as maybe not being as strong of a team as people thought. They thought this is the playoff team. This is their time. They get beat in the first round. What's to make of the Seahawks team, an aging team in the NFC West?
Well, I mean, you hit it right on the head. They're an aging team. They're a team that definitely needs to, they need to kind of regroup and find their identity. They were a power run team, a team that got by on talent on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the secondary. Losing guys like Earl Thomas and an aging Richard Sherman and Cam Chancellor is older. This is not the same Seattle Seahawk. Even Bobby Wagner hits 30 years old. And then you have $150 million on the books to Russell Wilson. A lot of changes need to be made. I expect them to go offense, though. I think they need a wide receiver. I think they need a big receiver. I think they need a receiver that they can throw the ball up to and give Russell Wilson a 50-50 ball, because Jimmy Graham, another aging player, a lot of aging players on the Seattle Seahawks team. So let's see if they decide to go on the offensive side of the ball and give Russell Wilson some more offensive threats.
The pick is in. Let's throw it down to the commissioner's office. Hop at the podium to announce where the NFC West champion Seattle Seahawks go with this pick.
With the 21st overall pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Shane Sanu, left outside linebacker, UCLA.
Sonny Weaver, they go with the linebacker Shane Sanu out of UCLA, 6'1", 226, sort of viewed as a cover 2 linebacker. How does he fit into this Seattle defense that has a problem? And that problem is everyone's getting pretty old out there.
That's exactly the issue. Everybody's getting pretty old out there. It's time to retool that linebacking core. I like Sanu a lot. I think he's going to play well in the zone. He's a guy that can move too. He's a pretty athletic guy. I think his athleticism is a little underrated. And so, the Legion of Boom gets a new member. And I kind of like it there. I like what Seattle's doing. Now they got a lot of money that's going on the books next year. Got a lot of re-signings. They've signed some older players to kind of fill some gaps. We need to see some guys, some younger drafted players step up out there in Seattle.
All right, let's get to our next team. That is the champions of the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills. Lip, this was a team that I think surprised some people. They looked like they were lost in the doldrums in the middle of the season. They got hot at the right time, one of the hottest teams going into the playoffs. Ended up winning that division in a Week 17 game against the New York Jets. Not a whole lot of moves in the offseason, but my question for you is this Bills team a team that's built to win this division for the next couple of seasons, or was this a flash in the pan and maybe just they got hot at the right time and we're looking at a team that's going to fall back now?
I think that this team is for real, and the reason why I think they're for real is because they are extremely good at drafting throughout the entire draft, and they draft starters really late into the draft. It's very impressive. They've done it twice now, and I've been very impressed with their front office. The thing is, their defense is very good. They're arguably one of the best top defenses. Third in points, first in overall yards, and that's pretty impressive. The only thing is they need something on offense. They need a spark. They didn't have a single wide receiver over 40 catches. Jordan Matthews was the number one guy there, 40 catches, 600 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That's not the production that you need. Travis Bowman, only 9 touchdowns passing. Nathan Peterman, 8 touchdowns. It's just there's no spark on the offensive side of the ball. 800 yards rushing from McIntyre. There's not a single guy on the offense that I can point to and say that's their guy. So I think if they can get that guy and pair it with that defense, of course I think that could be the team from that division for many years to come.
All right, well, the pick is in. The AFC East champions looking to get a little better here in the draft. Let's see where the Buffalo Bills go with the number 22 overall pick in the season 29 MBL rookie draft.
With a 22nd overall pick in the season 29 NBL draft, the Buffalo Bills select center Zach Diaz from Oklahoma.
Up that draft card, Sonny Weaver, Zach Diaz, 6'3", 299, center out of Oklahoma, 84 pass block, 79 run block, 84 strength, 85 impact. He's a quick guy, 80 XL. I don't really know how he gets going so quickly, but he is a quick guy at the center position. We know how important centers are in this cycle, that sort of leader of the defense. What do you think of a team going with a guy like Zach Diaz? You pick him here. They say he's a reach, ranked 55 in true talent, picked at 22, but they needed help on the offensive line. Is this a reach that was worth taking with Zach Diaz?
Yeah, it's a guy that definitely can be worked on. The run block's not an issue, 79. The awareness, he's going to have to get that up, but you are okay there. 71 speed, 80 acceleration, good for the centers to get upfield, make second-level blocks. I like the pick here. Obviously, Buffalo, they've got some needs there. The defense was strong. They replaced Hughes with Ngoku, and I like the pick here for Buffalo.
As we appreciate each and every one of you tuning into the MBL Rookie Draft here for Season 29. Bomber, I don't know why. I feel like we haven't had enough excitement right now. I feel like it's time for another MBL trade alert. I think we got one coming into the office. And after a flurry of trades, Bomber, the reason I'm throwing it to you is because your co-host, Mr. Lip himself, doing a little wheeling and dealing here. While he's on the show, he was on the phones. He trades up, gets the Dallas Cowboys pick at number 23 in exchange for their first round pick at 31 and the second round pick at 63. The defending AFC champions trading up a little bit, Bomber. You know, I know he's here. I know he can hear you, but tell me what you think about the Steelers moving up here in the first round.
A lot of aggressive moves right now. I mean, you see a draft that a lot of people see that quarterback position so high. You got, 6 quarterbacks that have already gone off the board. That creates opportunity. It's almost a domino effect where teams start saying, hey, let me get on the phone and see if I can make a move, because it looks like the guy we really want has just fell out of the top 10. And I think that's where the Steelers are at right now. They see a player that they want to grab. They decided, let's make a move. Let's get up a couple picks and see if we can get this guy on our team and see if he can be an asset for our ball club.
All right, well, let's talk about him a little more while he can hear us, because this is fun. This is the awkward part about doing the MBL Rookie Draft. Hey, how you doing? How you doing over there? The Pittsburgh Steelers, they, in the offseason, Cameron Hayward, a guy who's maybe getting a little up there in age. The most interesting loss I saw, Bomber, was Reggie Ragland, who got a big contract in the offseason. This was a guy who performed so well for this team in the playoffs throughout the regular season, but needed that big contract. The Steelers not wanting to pay him, ended up letting him go. When you lose a guy like that at 26 years old, is that at all concerning, or is this just smart financial play by the front office?
Well, based on the success you see in Pittsburgh, you have to think, okay, they're looking at this draft, and there's probably a couple players that they really, really liked. And their linebacker core being as strong as it is, obviously an injured season for Ryan Shazier kind of changed the outlook how they had on linebacker. They decide, you know what, the 26-year-old paying him or bringing in a rookie that's 22, 23, maybe even 21, there's an opportunity to rebuild this linebacker core and keep them fresh while we center our defense around Ryan Shazier and the ability he has at middle linebacker in that 3-4. So I think it was probably a smart move. I mean, this is a team that has a history of making smart decisions. You know, you look at this team and you say, well, you know, Ragland still has a lot left, but how much did he want and how much would that have affected the team's salary cap position? Smart move. Now they move up in the draft. Let's see if they go ahead and get that replacement for Ragland.
Yeah, let's throw it down to the commissioner's office and hot. The pick coming in from the Pittsburgh Steelers, trading up to the 23rd overall selection. Let's see where they go with this pick at number 23.
With the 23rd overall pick in the Season 29 MBL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select middle linebacker DeVay Sims, Tennessee.
And Sonny Weaver, they go with DeVay Sims out of Tennessee. This guy, a linebacker, perhaps, mayhaps, this is the replacement for Ragland. What do you think about the Sims pick here? A good pick, projected to go 25th, goes here at 23rd to the Steelers.
Well, in the Ragland move years ago, was a great play by the Steelers to put someone next to Ryan Shazier. Shazier's the speed. He can kind of over-pursue, force things back. And in this case, now you've got Sims, who's going to come in and clean it up. I think he's going to be a star just like Ragland was in that Steelers defense. I like the guy. He's not the speed guy like you get with Shazier, but he's definitely going to be a force there in the middle. And I really like that young linebacking core they're putting together there.
And let's look at his player card. 77 overall, good pick, ranked 34 in true talent, picked at 23. 87 speed, 86 hit power at 6'2", 249 at that middle of that defense. Sonny, when you're looking at drafting middle linebackers, you're looking at some of the best in the league. What is the most important trait to you when you look at sort of the main attributes for a middle linebacker, especially in this Pittsburgh Steelers defense that is a ball-hawking defense that maybe needs to do more in that run game and getting more stops against opposing running backs?
Well, I think obviously block shedding is huge. You can't get caught up back there, and pursuit. It's what it comes down to. If you're going to be a middle linebacker in MBL, you got to be able to get off blocks. You got to be able to run down guys, especially guys that are trying to get to the outside. Shout out Hop. So you got to be able to get out there. This guy's got the ability to do that. Great pick here by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, Bomber, your thoughts going middle linebacker, DeVay Sims. This guy, he's quick, 87 speed at middle linebacker. This guy is going to be all over the place in the middle of that defense.
Yeah, you pair him with Shazier. As Sonny was saying, you got an opportunity here to really have one of the fastest, most elite athletic linebacker cores here in the MBL. So that's going to be really nice to see that develop. That allows this team to do what they like to do, stay in their base 3-4 when you come out with 3 wide receivers and say, hey, we're going to stop you from running the ball, and we're also going to be able to defend you against the pass because our linebackers are just that good. This continues the trend of the dominant Pittsburgh Steelers linebackers.
All right, we can bring Lip back in here. We're done talking about you, buddy. Sorry about that awkward timeout there. You had to go sit in the corner and wait for a second. But we got the Indianapolis Colts here at 24, trading back earlier. Got the LA Chargers pick here at 24. They got rid of Andrew Luck. That's not really a big loss, though. This team is sold on Josh Dobbs. They want to run behind him. They bring in Calais Campbell, and they bring in Dez Bryant. Those are 2 veterans, one defensive, one offensive. What's more important to this Colts team? Is it the talent that these guys bring, or is it that veteran leadership? Because we know this team wants to get to the playoffs. They just haven't been able to get over that hump.
Well, I think it's the fact that they brought in Calais Campbell, who's coming off a 14-sack season. That's pretty impressive considering that he's 34 years old. I think that he has at least 1 year left, and that's exciting for the Colts because they're a team that really they need to step up on defense. This team doesn't play defense very well. 32nd against the rush. I think Campbell's going to help that. And then also he's going to help in the pass defense. But I also really want to see them go offensive line, try to protect Dobbs more. They really believe in this guy, and that's something that I can respect. Whenever you go out and you make a move for a quarterback and you believe in him and stick with him, I think that's extremely respectable. And I think if they go offensive line or anything on defense, that'll be a good move for the Colts.
Well, the Indianapolis Colts opportunity here, trading back, getting some picks next season. Let's see. A pick is into the office. Let's see where the Indianapolis Colts go with the number 24 overall pick in the MBL rookie draft.
With the 24th overall pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Indianapolis Colts select strong safety Parker Schmidt, UCLA.
Okay, I gotta throw this one over to Sonny Weaver. Sonny, going with a safety. I've heard you say over and over when we talk and looking at drafts that safeties are a dime a dozen. You can make a good safety out of a third rounder, a fourth rounder, because of just the position. They go Parker Schmidt, who is no doubt a talent, projected to go 18th overall, 5'11", 198. Was this a good pick for this team that had needs at other places defensively? Maybe cornerback might have been a better spot, but where the draft was, do you like them going safety?
Safety is an interesting pick here. I do agree. I think anytime you take a safety in the first round, it's a little bit of a reach because safety does tend to be such a deep position. Now, when you look at Indianapolis, it's kind of interesting. Obviously, you got Malik Hooker back there. He has to re-up his contract this year. I'm starting to wonder if maybe Indianapolis is considering not re-signing Hooker. Maybe they're going to pair him with them, but could he possibly be the future without Hooker? That's something we're going to have to wait and see. I think Schmidt, though, is a good 1-2 punch with Hooker. I think Schmidt can get down in the box, play a little strong safety to Hooker's free safety. He can blow up the run, and he can do some coverage as well.
Bomber, I'm going to throw this one to you. We just threw up the attribute card up on the screen, and the first thing that comes off the page is, once again, that superstar development. 88 speed, 85 zone, coming out of college, 91 acceleration. I know safeties are sort of a dime a dozen. We've seen a lot develop from wherever in the draft, but this guy, this looks like a steal for a team that was picking sort of back in the draft. They're going to be real happy with this guy. Look at 86 hit power. This guy is fast, and he hits hard, and he's superstar development.
And you don't find a more professional name than Parker Schmidt. I mean,
he could be my lawyer.
That sounds That sticks out to me. Yeah. So the thing about safeties is you can find serviceable safeties, good safeties, and you can develop safeties. But when you get a superstar development guy, even though he's at a safety position, you saw the impact Malik Hooker had for this team. You have an opportunity now to pair him with a guy like Parker Schmidt, or maybe replace him if he's asking for too much money. It gives you that flexibility. His contract's obviously up at the end of this season. Malik Hooker, that is. And Parker Schmidt looks like he can fit the bill there, and he can actually be a phenomenal safety in this league. We saw the Pittsburgh Steelers develop one earlier last year, and he's a stud in zone coverage. So I like safeties. If they're worth it in the first round, they have to be superstar, and this guy's a superstar. So that's going to give him an A in my book on that pick.
A real nice pick there for the Indianapolis Colts. As we move on to the next pick, and this is the Houston Texans' second pick of the draft. Got this into trade via Oakland last year. We talked about the Houston Texans earlier. They went quarterback, addressing a huge need. They get Jarrell, their pick, at number 3, Lip. So now this one sort of opens up for the Texans because we knew that quarterback was a huge need, but offensive line seems to be one of those needs, but we've seen a lot of them go off the board. So when you're at this position, you're back in the draft, you have a clear need at O-line. Do you take a chance reaching for a player, or do you go, well, the guy's not here, I got to go best available, even if it means not filling a need on my team?
It's a tough position, but they have two large needs to me based on what's left that would be a reasonable reach. I was really worried whenever they were up first about the right side of their line. Their right guard and their right tackle. They're not the strongest guys. That really raises a question for me, especially whenever you're playing Enunwa in Tennessee twice a year. That offensive line is really a position that you have to address. But if you were going best player available, I think that there's still some pass rushers that you could be okay with taking. Their defensive line, they need another guy on the outside to pair with some already good players on that defense. So I think you could go either way, but if you're not convinced, you have to go best player available at this point to get value out of that pick.
Lip, I understand Sonny's here. You don't have to mention Quincy Enunwa just because Sonny's here, okay? I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. We don't need to build him up anymore. He's getting a little cocky on highly debatable, so I don't think we need to build him up anymore right now. The pick is in the Houston Texans' second pick of the season 29 rookie draft. Let's throw it down to Hop at the podium.
With the 25th overall pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Houston Texans select cornerback Bronson Hartman, Georgia.
Sonny Weaver, they go cornerback, another need for this team. Bronson Hartman out of Georgia, 5'9", 205. Guy is not physically that imposing, but this is a guy who has some athleticism. This is a guy who's going to be able to help out this defense. Where do you see him fitting in for the Houston Texans, and what does that do for this team playing in the very tough division that they're in?
Really interesting there. So your measurables got him at 5'9", 205. I got him at 5'10", 205. So I think our combine number is a little off. But, you know, I like him. I think he's a little bit stockier at cornerback, 205. He's going to get in there. He's more of a press corner, so you're going to be playing him down there on the line. I think that's going to work well out in Houston. You got the pass rush of there, Merciless and Watt, so they're going to get after it there. Good pick. He's the last of my round one graded cornerbacks to get him this late in the draft. I'd say it's a good pick for Houston.
And we got his attributes up on the board. 93 speed, 77 man, 80 zone, 89 excel. Let's bring in Bomber. Bomber, you know all about speed with Harvey Beckham. On the defensive side, you never heard of that guy? HB18, maybe you know him better. HB18, 99.
Okay.
It's all coming back. Yeah, we know it. It's been a long night. On the defensive side of the ball, when you get a speedy cornerback, how much do you think, when you're handling those speedy wide receivers for a cornerback, is speed itself, matching them step for step? How much is that technique, that man coverage, that zone coverage? Which is more important when matching up against the speedier receivers?
Well, I'm not answering that. That's giving out.
No, hey, we need to know. We need to know.
I will say this: physicality is an important thing. You know, you got a smaller receiver that has the speed on you. If you can touch him up and put your hands on him, that changes a lot of situation that he has to deal with. And 5'10", 205 isn't too small. I mean, that's a pretty, good size cornerback that the Texans got right there. 93 speed, 92 agility. So he has the ability to kind of hang with you. And if he can put his hands on you and essentially use his physicality to kind of dominate and push the receiver in the direction he wants him to go and force him into that, whether it's zone coverage or into the man, a robber, or some situation like that, This guy's a good pick. Another great pick. It says he reached, but to get a cornerback in the first round, we all know MBL is a cornerback-driven draft, usually. And this isn't a bad pick late in the first round to get Bronson Hartman. I think he played well at University of Georgia, and I think he was in a pro-style, playing against a pro-style offense in practice can really help him in the NBL.
All right, well, let's go to the next pick, which is the Denver Broncos trading back in the draft. They're here at the end of the draft, Lip. This is a team, no more Emmanuel Sanders and no more Aqib Talib. They bring in Harrison Smith, though. This Broncos team, I don't know if they're set at the quarterback position. I want to get your opinion on that one because they've got a young guy that they like, but they're still not finding a way to win. Is this a lack of talent at the skill positions, or is this just a team that's young and trying to find their way to finish games?
Well, they found we've talked about identity all the time. They've found what works for them in a strong run game with Jerick McKinnon. So I think you try to build off of that, whether it be a wide receiver to have somebody out there to be a number one, to play off that run game, or you go and you build the offensive line to continue that success. Either one of those options are good. I'm not so sure that there's anything left at defense right now that would help them. So I would have to go somewhere on offense to try to build into who you are, and that's got to be helping Jerick McKinnon on the run in the run game, whether that be opening up the pass or continuing to build his blocking in that offensive line.
Yeah, let's throw it to Sonny Weaver. Sonny, where do you see the Broncos going with Jerick McKinnon? An incredibly wrong strun game is where I was going with that one. So we're at pick 27, and I'm losing my mind. But where do you see the Broncos going to shore up that run game, or maybe get more of a passing attack?
Well, you could do both with an offensive line. The more time you got to throw, the easier it is. The more time or the bigger the holes you have, the easier the running attack is. So I think the offensive line, obviously, they've already attacked that here in this draft. They could go back to it for sure. If not, maybe you look for a wide receiver. We had our very own MBL super fan, Jay Vines, telling us that they need to get a wide receiver out there.
Shout out to Jay Vines, one of the big fans of the network. The pick is in.
He's the best.
He is the best. He's awesome, and we appreciate all of our fans, all of our subscribers out there. But Jay Vines, he's if we had a belt for,
we're trying to get him to Detroit. We're gonna fly him in, baby.
All right, well, settle down.
We're gonna draft him. What position
settle,
you play, Vines?
Settle down. Let's throw it to Hop. Let's see where the Broncos go here with their pick.
With the 27th overall pick in the season 29 NBL draft, the Denver Broncos select left guard Hunter Hallen, USC.
Well, Sonny, they do go offensive line. They go with the lineman Hunter Hallen out of USC. This is one of the big hosses. This is a big dude. Why are you laughing?
Okay.
I can't wait to hear this.
What are with these H's? Hunter Hallen. I'm sorry.
Harlos.
You like Harlos?
Where are you going with next?
Hallen. it's
well,
awesome.
aside from his name, what do you like about the guy?
Well,
that was the end of his analysis. He's got some H's in his name, and that's all I got. This is the game we're playing.
God.
This is the game that we have.
6'2",
Let's go, Honey Heaver.
There, he played on a really good USC team that the line obviously had to block for a lot of different quarterbacks there, and Hunter Hallen, the guy can run block. I've got some questions though. Pass block. Got some questions on his run blocking. I think the run blocking issues come from hand placement again. Gets caught outside. A lot of holding calls there for Hunter Hallen.
You're just in love with the H's right now. Sonny Weaver, the linguistics expert here on MBL Live.
And speaking of another guy with an H who got caught with some hand placement, RV1. No, that's probably the wrong placement.
No, wrong placement. But I appreciate it. It was a good try to be topical. Let's give a little bit back to Sonny Weaver. Let's talk about him while he can absolutely hear us. And those Tennessee Titans, one and done once again because they're great and that's what they do. They really didn't bring in anybody of note. Their losses, Jonathan Cyprien is a fine loss, but really an uneventful free agency for the Tennessee Titans. Where does the Titan team need to get better to be able to knock off that one and done moniker? Is it more talented at a specific position, or is it more talented at the ownership box?
I was going to go that direction.
Okay. I'm sorry I took your legs out from you. I'm sorry.
The ownership, the movement of the direction of this team is what I would question. But I think he's coming back to a certain place that he belongs. He learned his lesson. But the Titans, they didn't make a whole lot of moves in free agency because they have a lot of big contracts coming up. They have a lot of guys that they're going to need paid in a couple years, and they're planning for a big free agency coming up, in their opinion. And the thing is, they do so many things very well all season. They run the ball very well, and they play great defense. I'm not sure that there's one player. This is one team I don't think that one player could make that big of an impact. I think that the team just needs a little bit more time gelling together. The system needs to be developed a little bit more, and that would help them get over that hump. But right now, I don't see a specific player or position that they could get better at this late in the draft that would change much of anything.
I think the pick is in. I know Sonny loves to hear anybody talk about his own team, so let's just get this over with. Let's throw it down to Hop and see where the Tennessee Titans... Real quick. Let's just get it in. Who do the Titans go with?
With the 28th pick in the season 29 MBL draft, the Tennessee Titans select Laquan Harrison, left end from Oklahoma.
Bust.
Oh, bust already called out. Let's bring in Sonny Weaver. Your thoughts on the immediate bust call?
Ouch, that hurt.
I would like to point out he didn't deny it. He didn't deny it. He just said, "Ouch."
That hurts. With another bust. What we're figuring out here with Laquan is we think he's a guy that can step right in and play for us, but he gets a year to learn. We've got Casey. What was that?
We got Jarrell Quasey.
Good player.
Good guy.
Yeah. But Casey's getting up there in age a little bit, and I think he's going to end up being the replacement for Casey. So he's going to sit behind him for a year or two, try to learn, and then we'll get him out there in some various pass rushing situations.
Let's go.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Jarrell Casey missed the playoffs last year, resulting in a one and done. In Sonny's mind, this pick gets him over the one and done.
Something like that.
So,
I know, Sonny.
Well,
that's exactly what he was thinking.
There's only one way to find out. Here's the question. This is the bigger question I have. If the Titans just missed the playoffs, is he count as one and done, or is he like, I finally broke the moniker of one and done by missing the playoffs? That's the real question. It's the real question. It's like, it's the Porter curse.
It's eating away at him so much that's the result.
Oh man, well, let's go on to the next pick, and this is one of the teams I'm real high on, the New Orleans Saints. Bomber, this team really impressive. Fought their way into the playoffs, really, and then they went on a great run. This team, they had their answer at quarterback. Ross Bonham is the answer for them. This team is looking to be one of those teams that is here for years to come in that very tough division in the NFC South. But just if people happen to miss it, what did the New Orleans Saints prove to you last year that you didn't know about them before seeing them on MBL Live?
Well, you look at this New Orleans Saints team on paper, you think this is a team that can compete. I just don't know if they have the age and the maturation of those players yet to really make a run. But last season they proved that these guys might be young enough not to realize that they're in the big stage, that they're on the big stage right now, and there's a lot of pressure. And that's a good thing for a young team like the New Orleans Saints. I thought they came out and they really looked strong in the playoffs. They put on a great showing, kind of came out flat in the second half against the Detroit Lions, but they competed the entire game, and they were in it. They just couldn't put enough points on the board, so I expect them to go offense. I think their defense has been stellar. I think their defensive line play was phenomenal last season. This is a team on the up and up. Probably, if you're an MBL fan and you're looking at which team you want to follow, if I was looking and to give an unbiased opinion, I'd say, man, these New Orleans Saints, they look young, they're fun, and they can win a lot of games and surprise a lot of people. So this is a team I'm really interested in following this season.
All right, well, let's see where those New Orleans Saints go here as we're nearing the end of the season 29 rookie draft. So where better to go than 29 here in the season 29 draft? Throw it down to Hop.
With the 29th overall pick in the season 29 NBL draft, the New Orleans Saints select left guard Parker Riley, UCF.
All right, Parker Riley, the pick for the Saints. Let's throw his card up there. Sonny Weaver, Parker Riley, left guard. A little bit of a reach here according to our numbers. 54 in true talent, drafted at 29, but offensive line was a need for this team. 91 strength, 85 run block. Those core numbers are actually really nice. The 73 pass block as an interior lineman, how concerning is that for a left guard, or is that a problem that you see more as something they can work on over the next couple of years?
Well, left guard, I mean, 90 impact blocking, it's going to be nice for that pulling, 80 acceleration, 72 speed. He's going to get out, especially on those power plays, get out there, kick out block, get the run game going. The pass blocking is a little bit of a concern, but you can kind of hide that in left guard. So not too worried about it, but That's going to be the main focus here for Parker Riley for the first season or two, is getting that pass block up.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see where the New Orleans Saints go with their new left guard. A real nice pick there. As we go now to the number 30 overall pick. That's not in the top 5. It's the Cleveland Browns. See what I did there? It's a not top 5 joke. Lip, this team in your division. No more Paul Posluszny in the middle of that defense. This is a team that was neck and neck with you guys till the end of the season. You matched up against him in the AFC Championship game. They just couldn't get over the hump. So talk a little bit about what this Cleveland Browns team, from your eyes as somebody who saw them 3 times last year, maybe where they go in this draft and what you learned from them last year.
Well, I have a lot of respect for where this Browns team has come to where they're at now. I think that they've done some extremely impressive drafting and managing their money very well. They've got a couple of signings coming up, actually quite a bit of signings coming up because they had such a strong draft class last year and the year before. So I think managing that down the road is going to be big for them. But as far as playing with what they've got, the move to bring Jameis Winston in was extremely impressive, and they played so much better with Winston there that I think that was the first year of this team being very good for a very long time. Winston's very young, and he's played very well. So I think that this team has a very legitimate shot at reaching the Super Bowl in the next year. I think next year they have a very good shot, and that doesn't just stop there. I think probably they have a good 3 to 4 year run here where they're going to be a very legitimate team for an MBL championship.
Who's that?
The Cleveland Browns?
Okay, sure.
Okay, well, I was expecting something bigger. I would like to point out that in our email with the actual screenshot, it was sent to me as top 5 Z-Star draft pick, which confused me because I thought I messed up somewhere in the draft order. So thanks for that, Z-Star, for giving me a little heart attack here with the 30th overall pick. Let's see where the Browns go here. Let's throw it down to Hop.
With the 30th overall pick in the season 29 NBL draft, the Cleveland Browns select free safety Charles Searles from USC.
Yo, Mr. Giggles over there. Hey man, be a little bit more professional, Hop.
Wait, here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give him another shot. Okay, let's throw it down. Let's see who the Cleveland Browns go with the number 30 overall pick.
With the 30th overall pick in the season 29 NBL draft, the Cleveland Browns select free safety Charles Searles from USC.
What's Charles Searles?
I'll give him a.
Who's Charles?
I'll give him a C. I'll give him a C minus on that one.
Name?
He technically passed. It's Charles Searles.
I thought it was Charles Searles.
I was going.
All the same.
I'm going with Charles Searles. Okay.
West?
Charles.
Sonny, I know you're disappointed in this pick.
Come on down to Charles.
Sonny's disappointed in this pick because there's only one H in his name, and we know how much old Honey Heaver loves the H's. But Charles Searles, out of USC, 91 speed, 89 excel, a good pick here as rated by our numbers. But what do you think about this guy? What do you think of the Browns going with free safety?
Well, Harles, as his friend likes to call him.
No, who? What friend?
Like
It's the H.
You know, the acceleration speed is something that you got to be impressed with. Little lower on the zone coverage than I'd like to see here, but you can get that up. He's going to be a nice combo with Julius Peppers. Hopefully that's not Julius Peppers' replacement, though.
Jabril Peppers?
Yeah, Julius Jabril. I think I did that last year, too, didn't I?
Julius Peppers at strong safety.
That would be interesting.
Is that
That's a strategy.
Lip, is that a legal move to move a defensive lineman to free safety? Is that against the...
It is when you're playing Lip. You just gotta let him know what side he's on at all times. That's it.
Oh, Lord. Let's go to the number 31 overall pick. That's where the Dallas Cowboys find themselves after trading up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bomber, this Dallas Cowboys team, along with the New Orleans Saints, one of the surprise teams, one of the hottest teams coming into the playoffs. They got some of those old contracts off. Jason Witten, Orlando Scantrick. They bring in Michael Brocker as a real nice piece for this defense. What do you like about this Cowboys team going forward? Do you see them as a team that's going to be sort of a power in the division, or was this just a flash in a pan for the Dallas Cowboys?
So once again, second time you've used flash in the pan.
Yeah, I got
It doesn't
two.
apply to this team because this team has a what? An identity. They're a power run team. Yes, on paper, high quality team. Do they deliver really the goods that everyone feels they have? Probably a little bit short of that. But what they do is they play within themselves.
Sorry.
They play within themselves and they create an identity that is tough to stop. It's a power run team that doesn't turn the ball over, and guess what their defense does? It creates turnovers, and that alone has allowed them to take this division by storm. I do not see him as a flash in the pan. I see him as a real threat, and I think we have a 2-team race and potentially a 3-team if the Washington Redskins can get it together, and potentially a 4-team.
How many more teams you got?
You know, hell freezes over.
And 5 teams if they decide to expand the division.
And 6 if and then there's
not 1, not 2.
Six if Sonny runs there.
That's well, I just would like to point out 31 picks in, and Nick made a doo-doo joke. So we're doing well here on the MBL Live Draft. We're almost done. Bless you if you stayed with us throughout this whole thing. We appreciate it. We hope you've liked all the new things we brought this year to the MBL Rookie Draft. One of those new things is Hop, who's going to try to get through these last 2 picks without giggling. Hop, 31 overall pick. What do we got?
Charles.
With the 31st overall pick in the season 29 NBL draft, the Dallas Cowboys select right guard Chance
Get out of
Wheeler,
here.
Penn State.
He's got one more pick and he's fired. Nah, Sonny Weaver, Chance Wheeler, 2 H's in his name, so you got to like him. From Penn State, Lip's favorite place in the world, the Penn State University. What do you like about this guy on the offensive line to help out this Dallas Cowboys team that has been known for a great offensive line?
Chance Whelan and Dylan Wheeler, you know, what you got to look out here. Lael Collins is probably leaving after this year. They tagged him this year to get 1 more year. So this is probably Lael Collins' replacement. They've got a hole currently where he can fill, I think, at left guard. But he'll kick over there and take over for Collins, I'm guessing, next year. He's a guy that I like. I think at this point in the draft, it's a good value pick. 6'5", 331. You could almost call him a left tackle with those numbers. But I think his footwork's more suited for guard, playing in a box, rather than having to get outside with some of those rush ends.
Well, we finally made it. We've got to the last pick in the NBL rookie draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Bomber, this was your pick, traded to the Jaguars last season. Second pick for the Jaguars in this draft, a chance to really get better. What do you think? As somebody who has been at the end of the draft, what sort of value can you find here after watching 31 teams pick? Do you get any benefit from seeing everybody go before you, or is the only benefit just seeing a lot of players go off the board?
The best benefit you can get is trying to go on a championship run the year before and finding a sucker to take this pick, because this pick is garbage. You don't want this pick. It's not good. But maybe he'll turn it into something. Maybe this is a deep enough draft where he can find something that, fits the needs that he has. And this is a team on the rise as well. They kind of peaked early last season, about midway through, kind of hit a couple roadblocks. I expect them to bounce back, but let's see if they can get something on the offensive end and kind of ignite this offense. It's been a little bit of a sputtering offense in the end of NBL season 28,
28, 29, whatever. The numbers don't really matter. Let's wrap this bad boy up. Let's throw it down to Hop for the final time. Hop, no pressure. It's your last chance to prove to everybody that you can do the easiest job here in the draft, reading out the names. Do it, buddy. You got this. The last pick of the first round. Let's throw it down to Hop.
With a 32nd pick in the season 29 NBL draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select halfback Brenton Fisher from Penn State.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, Sonny. Let's throw it to Lip. Lip, you're ecstatic about this.
I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to watch this kid grow through building the franchise, because I think that this is a good move.
Watch him at Penn State a little bit. What do you got to tell us about him?
No. I'm tired of looking at Leonard Fournette sitting on the sidelines. He's hurt all the time, not living up close to anybody's expectations. This guy is going to light the Jags on fire. I'm so excited because that's going to take the pressure off Shirley, help their offense in the run game. This is going to be a turning point for these Jaguars. I'm very excited they took a halfback here.
Sonny Weaver, does this mean that Leonard Fournette's done in Jacksonville? Are we going to see the Brenton Fisher era start down in Florida?
Not with 83 acceleration, you're not. The guy, he's going to take a little while to get up to speed down there.
It's funny.
I take back everything I just said.
You're done. You saw the numbers and you're back off the Brenton Fisher train.
I loved the idea. Didn't love the execution.
Yeah, well, that 83 acceleration, by the time he hits the 50-yard line, he is going. By the way, not out of Penn State, out of Penn. So shout out to the Ivy League for producing Brenton Fisher.
Oh.
We'll lose the Penn University.
The Penn.
Oh, well,
Better than the pencil, I guess, huh?
oh, God, that was bad. That was
The
horrible.
Notre Dame pencils.
We have unbelievably made it to the end of this rookie draft. We appreciate all of you tuning in. Let's get some final thoughts. Bomber, from you, we saw 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Let's get the actual count. Let me scroll up all the way. We saw a bunch of quarterbacks go early. 1, 2, 3. We got 4 in a row and 5 in the top 10. How many of those guys do you think are going to be, I don't want to say stars, but mainstays in the MBL? And how many of them are just going to be busts sitting on the pine, riding in on the Pittsburgh Steelers team as their third-string quarterback?
Oh, well, that's a tough question. How long do I have to answer this? I mean, there's some opportunities there, like the guy the 49ers took. I thought that's a great fit for them.
I mean, we don't really know what we have in this Texans team under new ownership with Jerome.
Yeah, and they got a good cornerback, too. So if the defense can put the offense in good situations, you got opportunities there for these quarterbacks. That's what I think the 49ers have developed a really fast and young defense that can kind of help this offense. If the offense gets itself in trouble, I think they can kind of claw their way out and they can stay and fight in these games. Because you got to remember, these 49ers team have been in a lot of games that are 6-3, 9-6. If they get a quarterback that can actually help put points on the board, you might be looking at a real more competitive team, or a team that just starts pulling away in the NFC West in a division that is pretty much just sputtering as is.
Lip, looking at this draft, we saw a huge amount of trades. A lot of people trading back, getting a real nice haul for their picks. And what we saw later in the draft was still a lot of talent out there and a lot of quick and superstar development players. If you were one of these teams, you're one of the teams that did trade back in the draft, but looking at all of the trades that happened, do you think there was a clear winner? Was it the teams that traded up to get some of that higher talent, or is it the teams that traded back and got a haul of picks and still were able to get some nice players?
I like one from each. I really like what the 49ers have done. I think that the patience of them taking star wide receivers, letting them develop, and now you're going to get a quarterback that has receivers that have some experience. I think that's huge, especially in that division. But then also at the same time, I do really like what the Cardinals did in trading back twice and still being able to get a quarterback. It wasn't the most high-profile quarterback that was out there. They could have taken him if they stayed up, but now they have that quarterback that they took, I think, 17 or 19, and now they've got a lot of picks to go along with it. I think that was a very good move for that team.
And last but certainly least, it's Sonny Weaver. Sonny, the question I ask you after every draft, looking over the 32 picks, who is the winner of this draft? Who came out best? And who made the Paysinger worst pick of the draft? There are 31 choices with the New York Giants forfeiting their pick. So who do you like, and who are you going to mock mercilessly?
Well, who I like, I think it's pretty much hands down. It's the Chicago Bears. You get the wide receiver Ford, you get the end Slade. You basically killed the first round. Two of the best players in the draft. It's really not even close. Maybe the best draft I've ever seen in NBL.
That good.
It's that good. Now, let's talk about the Paysinger Award for a second, shall we? I mean, do you want to go ahead and just throw the background of that to all of our viewers?
Well, the background of that is, does anybody remember what season it was? Was it 24 or 23? I think it was one of those two drafts. Our very own JY, who we love here in the NBL, who's owner of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last cycle, with the number 2 overall picked a defensive tackle that generously would be considered a bust, and not generously at all would consider a complete waste of oxygen. Was that a good sum?
So, great sum. So let's talk about that. I'm going to go with the New York Jets at pick number 14, taking a cornerback that I didn't even have rated in my first 3 rounds. Makes no sense. The Jets are insane. Have a good night, folks.
In the membrane? Are they insane in the membrane?
Insane in the brain.
Oh, he got that musical reference. That one he got. Boom. I'm proud. I'm happy. We got one musical reference. We hope you guys enjoyed the NBL Rookie Draft here for Season 29. We hope you will tune into our NBL Live schedule. That'll be released over the next couple of days, and you'll be able to see our full list of live games. You can see these players live and in action with our play-by-play commentary here on the NBL Network. So hit that subscribe button. Follow us over on Twitter at Bomber League. We're going to get out of here. For everybody who hopped on the show and my co-hosts, Bomber Lip and Sonny Weaver, I'm OSU. And a big shout-out Big shout out to our commissioner representative Hop, who almost made it through the entire draft. He was so good the whole time. Mr. Giggles over there. And a big shout out to Searles. Mr. Searles will be great in the MBL. It's been a weird night. It's been a fun night, and we hope we'll see you throughout the season right here on MBL Live.